Good morning, traders. Welcome back to another live stream. If you are new, my name is Zach. This is Real Deal Futures. Before we hop on these charts on this beautiful Thursday, April 16th, make sure you view us on the screen. Trading is risky. Most traders do lose money. I'm not a financial advisor. I do not provide financial advice. Nothing I say or do is a suggestion or recommendation to do anything at all. Make sure you always do your own research, make your own trading decisions. Read CFTC Rule 4.41 on simulated trading, which is what this is, even in funded prop firm accounts. And the affiliate and punishment disclaimer that says I stand to make money from links and codes in my content. Lights up on futures, code RDF, bookmap, edgeful, others. I cannot be unbiased if I stand to make money, which I do. Important for me to note that, for you to do your own dang research and make your own dang decisions. Chat, what's going on, guys? Good morning, good morning. Sorry for putting a camera in front of the camera. I just got to get this one set up. My light died, no. Yeah, we're back. Come on, man. We got that. We got that covered. Hang tight, guys. Hang tight. We got a little bit of time starting out nice and early today. How we doing today, chat? How are we doing today, man? Ready to talk markets. I want to talk about this week. I want to talk about this move to the upside. I want to talk about trading NQ and YM. Talk about focusing on prop firms, live accounts, all this fun stuff, man. Let's see. That looks pretty good. That looks pretty good, chat. What do we think, man? What's going on, guys? What's going on? What's happening on YouTube Kicking X, man? What's going on? What's going on this morning? Mr. Jocker, what's up? Saying the Trader, what's up? Dwayne, AJ, Vincent, Hansel, what's going on? I'm sure we got, let's see, without even looking, Slothfather, Kobe, and Jess on Kick. Sometimes Mike. At least those are the ones that talk on Kick. What's up, guys? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. What's up, Jake? What's happening, peeps? We're on here nice and early. We got 15 minutes to NYSE open. Chell, Bell, anybody else that I'm going to miss as I start to look at these charts here? Welcome to the show, man. Welcome to the show. Appreciate you guys being here. Let's see. We are up and rolling. We are good to go, man. We are good to go. So, let's talk about what we got going on. First off, let's talk about what we're trading today, man. I got some Lucid Flex funded accounts loaded up. Top One Futures live account is now put to the side. It's not completely dead, but it's on its way out. It's not something that I'm going to look to baby on the way back out. Got very aggressive in it, like I talked about. I'm not going to waste too much time repeating that stuff, which I've been repeating this week. Got very aggressive in it, took some L's. That's going to be lights out on that bad boy. I requested a Lucid payout yesterday. I should, if I don't fumble today, should be ready to request another Lucid payout today. We have at least a semi-fresh Lucid account ready to roll today. I got a handful. We're going to trade these nice and aggressively. Show you what getting really aggressive in some accounts looks like. $2,000 worth of risk on a full-size trade. It's pretty much going to be it. Markets, man. Markets have maintained incredible strength. We are at all-time highs. That's it, guys. Just like that. We drifted lower for 3 months, and in the blink of an eye, we are back at all-time highs. Literally at the highest these U.S. indices have ever been. That's where we're at now. There's every case to be made for this to be the bullish market that we want it to be. It happens very quick. It oftentimes happens very quick. We trailed off the all-time highs for, this is 61 days, because we can use a simple measurement tool off the last all-time high, and we got back to all-time highs in 15 days. Half a month. We trailed lower for over 3 months, and we got back in half a month. Literally 2 weeks. Like, absolutely insane how quick this stuff can happen. But talk about my trading. I captured a little bit of this. I came back over to NQ with the goal of really swinging NQ, getting really aggressive and swinging NQ. I caught an absolute banger down here. I don't know if this was actually it, but caught an absolute banger down here. Would have liked, hoped, wish, right? Doesn't get you paid. Would have liked to be able to capture some of this. Really would have liked to be able to capture some of this right here and some of this week. I have to say I'm a little bit disappointed in my lack of focus on just the bigger picture, big movement in the market that we're having, and my, too zoomed in, too much focus on the individual prop accounts that I'm trading and getting more aggressive and less aggressive and what that means for live trading with you guys. That was my review, right? I hopped over to NQ to get more aggressive. I traded NQ with the same style of mean reversion off of the open play that I look for on YM. It's not the same instrument, right? So, while those moves sometimes do mimic each other, it didn't help me. Yesterday should have been a win on YM, and instead it was an L on NQ, right? I got short near pre-market highs on NQ in here yesterday. Took a full L, because I wanted to be aggressive. Here was the move on YM. We cracked to the upside. Textbook what I look for. Over double the, the R multiple that I usually look for. So, we have to deal with these things, right? We have to continue to try to, as we adjust as traders, right? As we decide what accounts we want to trade, as we decide where to put risk on, right? We have to try to look at what the heck we're actually doing and then the results that we're getting. So, a little bit disappointed this week for sure. But part of the game, man. I've been on an absolute heater. I've been very consistent on YM. I got some big days put up on NQ. That definitely took a little bit of my focus and applied it to what I was doing here. I'd say with you guys for the live session off of the open, and that's not really the play that I'm looking for. YM, I look for a mean reversion, reversal style play into the open, right? NQ, I look for more of a continuation. Really much more of a continuation. That was the big day that I put up, and I started to trade that as the same kind of reversal, style that I had been looking for on YM, and that's just really not the right thing to do. Not exactly the right thing to do. So, just kind of an overview. Areas for improvement for me. Remember what I'm trading, when and where and why, right? I think that's going to be really important. On NQ, I'm going to be waiting for those ideal times. And, we might get them on the live session, but we might not. I'm going to be waiting for those more ideal times to put big risk on for these larger movements. And YM, really, throughout the day, I'm looking for these mean reversion style plays off of key levels. Mostly into the open, but certainly throughout the day as well. Overall, market, that's just kind of my review of myself, my trading. Overall, incredibly strong market, right? Very, very strong market. We've continued to have insane headlines, even this week, from Trump, from the conflict in the Middle East, right? The U.S.-Israel conflict, Fed speaker, Goolsbee making comments, everything in between. The market's just eating it up. It's really, we gapped down at the open, and this has just been a straight shot to the upside. NQ all week, unfortunately, all you have to do is hit the buy button. I hit the sell button multiple times. Hit the buy button a couple times in some prop accounts that paid me. But, this is just one of those weeks where it's not common, right? This isn't a common structure, right? I would say we're not doing this most of the time. I think it's pretty safe to say that. But when this starts to happen, it happens very quickly, right? I did say yesterday, if I started to take too many L's, especially in a very strong market getting short, I would be cautious. Now, again, YM would have paid me short yesterday. That was the move. Longs would have absolutely cooked you in YM, maybe into the afternoon as we tested a low. But I will start to get somewhat cautious on the short side. It's something that, I have a stark reminder from this part of last year. From this part of last year where, we came off of these insane tariff lows and I was way too slow to adapt to a big grinding higher market, right? One-sided tape where we were just pushing higher. And I was still trading this, with both directions. And I really needed to take my foot off the gas on the short side. So just some talk, some conversation about how I try to approach changing market conditions because we're in ever-changing market conditions. But so far, very, very strong market. Looking at this, man, we are at all-time highs. I really don't have a lot of opportunity up here on NQ. On YM, I am very interested to take the same style mean reversion trade that I've been looking for, right? What I would love today is a weigh-in long, right? Big surprise. I think everybody would like a weigh-in long. Here's what we're looking at, zoomed out on the 1 hour. Very similar structure, not nearly as bullish. YM is not at all-time highs. You can see how much weaker this is, just to give you the quick around the horn, much weaker than NQ, much weaker than ES, right? In fact, it presented a very nice short setup yesterday, like I just showed. trading over 400 points off of the high that it cracked in, from pre-market and then broke right back down, right? We found a base here into the afternoon, and then we closed out near VWAP. Certainly not a big bullish day. So today, what are we looking at on YM? And again, I will trade NQ, I will trade YM. I've made that reminder to myself to remember what the heck I'm trading and why, and just because I want more, to put more risk on, which I don't have to do anymore, right? I'm not in that account with a, 1 mini limit. Made that reminder. Anyway, looking for, again, same mean reversion style trade. If we crack to the downside, I'm going to look to long this. This is the preferred play. I would really like to not short this market for a 4th day in a row and take a 4th loss. I will if I have to, guys. I will if I have to. I am happy to pull up multiple days in a row and take multiple losses in a row. That, for me, is what real trading looks like. That's what it looks like to work towards consistency and payouts and profitability. It's just part of it. Hopefully not all of the time, but part of it. If we crack to the upside, I'm going to have to look for it, guys. If we crack towards the upside, I don't know that I'm going to take it right in here. I may be a little bit cautious of jumping in too quick. We got about 60 seconds to NYSE open, but I'm going to look for this same mean reversion style trade, right? I didn't take it here. I marked it up, and then I didn't take it here, and, unfortunately I had to watch that one go without me. But I would love this move to the downside, maybe around yesterday's value area low, yesterday's low. Key level from higher time frame here, playing out really nicely. I can get rid of that level right there. We can actually I can mark this right here. Getting ready to open up here, guys. Bang. Nice. Nice. Yeah, so I'd love a long if we sold off a little bit right into this open, tested a key level. I think that can definitely be done here on YM. If we crack to the upside, here we are opening up and trading view lagging on me. If we open up to the upside, which we're not doing yet, I will still look to fade this. Again, I really do not want to be short this market. 2 reminders yesterday. Remember what instrument you're on and why. Remember what movement you're trying to exploit and why. And also, when we're in a strong single direction market, just breaking prior day high and running, the market can always go higher, right? We often get caught thinking that the market can't go higher, it has to come back down, so we start shorting it, right? Or you get caught on the other side. It could just keep going up for forever. So I'm just going to long. It's never going to come down. It'll eventually come down. It'll eventually pull back. But there's a balance in there. There's definitely a balance in there. So that's what I got rolling today, guys. That's what I got rolling today. Again, not much by way of opportunity on NQ in general. What I'm planning on doing is continuing to mark up NQ, continuing to mark up YM, send those in emails, and I'm not always going to be able to call out trades. I'd love to be able to call out trades all day, every day, and trade live with you all day, every day. But what I'll probably do is do some nice trade reviews, right? When I'm able to capture a large movement in NQ, unfortunately, like I was able to do a couple weeks ago, but not this week, I'll talk about how that happened and why, right? That's the game plan for NQ. But let's see if NQ is going to continue its drive higher, if ES is going to continue its drive higher, if these are just going to do what they did yesterday and completely act like opposites. Looking at ES here. Came across the high. Let's go ahead and why does this look like? What is that long position? They changed the graphic on the long position? Okay. It's a weird thing to do. Marking up current all-time high, prior all-time high on these. I think these are obviously really important levels to be paying attention to. Just curious when I come back to a higher time frame view here on ES and NQ, where these levels are. This was our prior all-time high here on NQ. Bang, and this is going to be our current. Well, I don't need to put current, I can just put all-time high. YM, yeah, we are not even close. We're not even close. A lot of movement out of these markets, guys. A lot of movement out of these markets the last couple days. You know, eventually we will start to slow down. You know, eventually, how long that is out for debate. We don't have a lot of news as far as scheduled news events. Taking a look at forexfactory.com. Just looking at a financial news calendar, we don't have a ton. No red folder the rest of the week. We do have a ton of headlines continuing to come in. I am listening to News Squawk. I had an awesome conversation with these guys yesterday. They are a real-time news headline alert platform. Ton of cool features. I'm super excited to be doing more with them. I'll be talking about them more coming up, but or I anticipate talking about them more coming up. But I'll be able to let you guys know what headlines we got breaking. I'm gonna run this, turn this Squawk back on. Nice. We can see what Trump's got to say about the markets today. Let's see. So far, somewhat of a muted open here on YM. Testing back towards VWAP right now. Nothing too crazy. Very, very tight. We had a very tight overnight session here. Very tight overnight session. This is obviously yesterday's candle high and low. Overnight session, just very choppy back and forth. Inside bar so far. Taking a look at NQ. Yeah, much stronger, right? We opened up to the upside and just cracked through all-time highs, kept pushing higher. Taking a look at ES. Very similar structure out of NQ and ES. I don't need to put a C ahead of all-time high. That's just redundant. Yeah, so curious to see what we get here in YM. Again, I'd prefer not to short this market, but I'm going to. I'd prefer not to do it again for a fourth day in a row, to take a fourth L. But again, you know, I missed it yesterday. Missed it yesterday on YM, and it would have been the beautiful play. Let's see, chat. What's going on, guys? What is going on? Good morning. Let's go. 30 MD30. Pam, what's up? I'm set up so if it pulls back to regular hours high, I'm in for the long. I did set up a short case, but I'll likely steer clear of it. Yeah, not a bad move, right? Morning all, I have the same trouble. Up high with a short. But man, can we just keep going higher? We can. We can keep going higher, right? And again, I'm one to adapt slower, right? What I used to do, and again, this just comes from knowing myself, right? Everybody's going to know themselves a little bit, and we have to try to play to our strengths and weaknesses. I shifted from somebody who was way too quick to adapt, you know, and try to change and hindsight bias and over optimize, right, for yesterday, to someone that's probably a little bit too slow, right, to adapt to a changing market. But on YM specifically, I really, outside of us, which we are doing, outside of us turning into a really extremely day-over-day bullish market, I do like to play both sides, especially into the open. My discretion after the last couple of days of taking some shorts and just getting absolutely ran through, my discretion will come into play in a couple of different ways, right? If I'm going to short this market today, if it starts to move in my direction, I'm going to be more defensive, right? I'm probably going to be quicker to go to break even. I'm probably going to be quicker to take a profit rather than hold the thing all damn day for an insane reversal, you know, depending on what it looks like, right? outside of just not taking a short, there's some things you could do to be maybe more defensive on one direction and more aggressive on, on another direction. So, maybe if you're finding your way in long, you are holding, right? You're holding longer. You're not moving stop loss to break even. You're allowing the trade room to breathe. But as a whole, yes, I am a fan of looking at higher time frames. I'm a fan of looking at the higher time frame trend. That does tend to prevail. If we get into a case like we are making right here at all-time highs in the other U.S. indices, not YM just yet, that we just want to continue ripping higher, stepping in front of that, continually stepping in front of that, is going to be dicey, right? Do I think after this type of action, right? After this type of action on NQ for a long period of time, very choppy back and forth, that all of a sudden, we gap down and push higher, that, just running longs day after day is an insanely obvious move. The case could be made, right? The case could be made. But for me, I think it comes down to just sticking to your system, sticking to your approach. So I'd say on YM, I'll start to get a little bit more cautious of the shorts up here. But it'll come in a couple of different ways, right? It's not always just not shorting the market. It's how are you managing those trades, right? What is your expectation on the short side if we're in a really strong bull trend? So important to note that. I have a directional bias today. I don't have a directional bias today. YM can go either way. Absolutely. Good morning. What is YM? YM is the Dow Jones Industrial Average Futures Contract. This is the E-mini, as you can see up here. The E-mini Dow Jones, right? The $5 contract. It is a futures contract that trades out of the Chicago Board of Trade. Tracks the Dow Jones Industrial Average, right? Similar to US 30 in the Forex and CFD market. If you were, trading, there's a bunch of other different ways you could trade it. Skip NQ today. You're skipping NQ today. Nice. Afternoon from London. What's up? What's going on? Morning, Nate. What's happening? Market is inherently built to go higher. Perma bull pays. Yeah, man. Yeah. Again, we are trading the U.S. indices here, right? This is a good point, ADO King. Very good point, right? We are trading the U.S. indices. Over time, if you zoom out, right? We don't have to do it today, but maybe if we go to a weekly chart. This is a weekly chart showing, 15 years of data. What is the trend here? What is the really high time frame trend, right? Is it sideways? Is it down? I think you would have trouble making a case for any other direction than up, than bullish, right? It's obvious. It should be obvious as to why that is, not just because we all love America and we're long America, until the end of the national anthem, but because of the way this the entire U.S. economy functions, right? There is a constant inflow of cash being invested, right, into the U.S. economy. You can kind of look at how that functions. Now, that's not to say that hitting the buy button every day is going to work. It will absolutely will not. You're going to have periods. First off, you have to time the market. You have to find a way to structure risk, but you're certainly going to have periods where we do chop for a long period of time. We do have periods where, we're in a correction, we're in a recession, right? Sometimes a multi-year downtrend. So, it is easy. It is easy today to say, all you got to do is long the market, right? After a big bullish move right back to all-time highs. It did happen very rapidly this time. We did not take the staircase up. We took the escalator up. Ooh, we got some volatility coming in. Let me hear if I hear a headline on this one, guys. Nothing yet. Nothing just yet. Could just be some interesting volatility. Again, I'm listening to News Squawk, guys. Something new for me this week. Real-time headlines read aloud, extremely fast. But yeah, we were talking about U.S. markets here. I think you would struggle as a short-only trader, right? If you had a gun to my head, you said, Zach, you could only trade NQ for the rest of your life, and you could only trade one direction. What direction do you think I'm going to pick? Right? So it should be somewhat obvious. Yeah, nothing out of that little move there. So just taking a look at, this, YM holding right here at VWAP. ES and NQ with a negative cumulative volume delta. YM as well. All three of these, right? And obviously, being displayed in price action. We got some sellers coming into the open here. We are not, at least right now, blasting through all-time highs. I think if you are looking for a way in long, this might be your opportunity. We finally cracked pre-market lows in the NYSE session. We haven't done that all week. We've just completely taken off in one direction. Is today the day where we smack shorts, across the face so many times, and everyone goes, okay, I finally figured it out now, guys. All I got to do is wake up and long. Shorts are crazy. Why would you short this market? Somebody said it to to me yesterday, right? After 2 big bullish days. Why would you short, right? Let's see how today goes. Oftentimes, right? I'll talk about it. Oftentimes it's just this continues for forever, right? What feels like forever. It's just everybody is like hands off, overextended. It's got to come down. It just doesn't come down. It just keeps going. Oftentimes also what happens. Okay, everybody's finally ready. They go, you know what? Okay, I'm just going to join the trend. Trend is your friend. That's what they say. Just buy, really aggressive. I'm going to make back my money. And what do everybody do? Come in. Okay, we got them. Long's trapped, right? And then usually what happens right after, like right back through. But this is not uncommon. Just go back and look at price action, market structure during, really strong uptrends. There's often that let's go grab liquidity, right? Now, we haven't had that at all. It's just been very one-sided, grindy to the upside. But, you do have to be aware of that. But I do think we got an opportunity there on NQ if you wanted a long. If you wanted the pullback long play. But yeah, good conversation so far, guys. I'm sitting patient. I'm not looking to do anything too crazy. I got fairly aggressive on NQ the last couple of days. Again, for more reasons than one. But here on YM, it's the same play every day, right? I am going to attempt to adapt to ever-changing market conditions. But overall, if we open up and we're sitting at VWAP and current volume point of control in between yesterday's daily high and daily low, if I do anything in here, I'm dead wrong. Whether I win or lose, that was an insane play, right? So absolutely nothing yet. I am looking for, I would love a pullback down for a long. I'd love a sweep of high. I wouldn't love a sweep of highs for a short. I would take a sweep of highs for a short. But right now, just kind of a muted open, sitting here at VWAP, which is, not completely uncommon. We had a lot of movement out of these, right? Eventually they go, all right, buyers are kind of tired, sellers are, are beat up, and everybody starts to go hands off. Listening to a headline. No headline. Kind of light on headlines this morning also, honestly. Not too much out of the Israel conflict. Kind of the market that we're in, which is why I'm talking about it so much and, listening to this stuff. Market seems to just consolidate until the next big headline drops or Trump comment, and then, we go. Good day, Zach. What's up, Curtis? Hope the shorts go your way today. Those daily gaps need to get filled. Yeah, no, I'm not, just so you guys know, I'm not a short-only trader, right? I'm not a short-only trader. What happens here, right, is off of the open on YM specifically, right? Last couple of days have been NQ. But on YM, if I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, I'm fading the move, right? I'm fading whatever the initial movement is. If it's a pop to the upside, I'm going to try to fade that. If it's a sell-off, I'm going to try to fade that for a mean reversion style play. So it's not that I'm a short-only trader. It's not that I'm only looking for shorts. I'd like to consider myself more bullish than bearish, But, you know, if we're pushing to the upside in YM, I'm looking for that mean reversion style play. I'm very just, you know, no direction really on YM is the way that I like to trade it. NQ, I do like to trade with more of a continuation, extension type of a mindset. I grit my teeth as I said that because I did not do that this week. But, yeah, we'll see here. We'll see. I think we're in for some exhaustion on YM. Yeah, yesterday we had some, you know, yesterday it felt like exhaustion on YM, right? First off, again, just to create just so you guys are aware, this is quite different. And I honestly didn't really know until I looked at the daily, right? This is NQ, right? Broke all-time highs all the way through yesterday. Here's ES, right? Now, overall, similar structure out of YM, but significantly less of a move up. You know, we are still, you know, 4% off, almost 4% off, almost 2,000 points from the prior all-time high, right? Now, YM put its all-time high in late, right? Had a pop in February. January highs were up here. It sold off pretty damn aggressively, right? What felt like more aggressively than NQ, where it chopped around a lot. But we have not recovered the same as ES and NQ. And you can see that yesterday, right? And you can see that in here. You know, we had a bearish bar yesterday, right? You know, we have not cracked, you know, prior high today in pre-market. So, you know, much, I wouldn't say weak. This isn't a weak market, right? We're pushing the upside, but much weaker in comparison to, you know, NQ and ES. So it is important to note that. YM does tend to live in its own world. It is a U.S. indice. You know, we're trading the U.S. stock market here, but it is weighted very, very differently. And just in general, the characteristics, the way that it moves intraday, I find are very different than ES and NQ. ES and NQ tend to be, you know, much more correlated, although not exactly the same. They have divergences. But YM, you know, YM can really move in its own direction, you know, for a while. Yesterday being an example where NQ just grinded higher all day and YM sold off, right? All the way into, you know, the afternoon here. So important to note that, right? It's not, you know, completely opposite something like, you know, gold or silver or oil, or there's going to be, you know, this really opposite correlation, but it is very different. You know, it is very different than NQ and ES. But I would like to play this long if it gave me an opportunity. So far, just choppy. 20 minutes in here, nothing. Really, really muted. An exceptionally calm U.S. Open. Very, very tight overnight session. Very, very tight overnight session. 150 points. Next to no movement. Just chop back and forth. So we'll see if we want to go, you know, crack. We cracked pre-market high here with this candle to the upside. Looks like we want to break pre-market low down here. We can certainly start to move in one direction right here from the middle of this range, but that's not going to give me a trade. But we'll hang out. We'll wait for a trade. We'll put our trades on as they come. See if we can't make some damn money here. See if we can't snap a couple L's on the live stream. And keep things pushing. Get a little bit of volatility here out of ES. Yeah, I'm assuming the same on NQ. U.S. Trade Representative to travel to Mexico Monday amid USMCA talks. Interesting, interesting. Don't know that that is exactly the reason for the movement. Never really going to know, but I am paying attention a lot more to headlines these days. Let's see what we got today, chat. Let's see. Oh, man. Choppy Thursday, followed by a reversal Friday would be nice. Am I the only one viewing ads over and over again? I hope you are. If you're here on YouTube, I mean, like, can I pause them? There, I think I could pause ads for a while. I've had to humble myself. If you don't want to watch ads, you can also hop on Kick. I stream on YouTube, Kick, and X. Kick is completely ad-free. Real deal Zach on both of those. I've had to humble myself. Practice account-only trading. I've just been touching combines with XFAs with zero payout since January. It's rough. Yeah, Nate. I hear you, brother. I hear you, man. I appreciate you sharing. You've been super transparent, you know, from the time that you hopped in the community and shared. I appreciate you sharing, man. It's a tough situation as you start to progress as a trader, especially if you have a really nice set of wins. And you had a really nice set of wins in there. We are trading an ever-changing market, and as you are progressing from, you know, losing money to break even to making money, there's going to be these back and forth, right? There's going to be this back and forth. And it is easy to, you know, set the expectations, you know, really high, really quickly. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with watching this push to the downside. No headline. They were just reading out some volatility, just talking about the little bit of the selling pressure. But yeah, man. Listen, if you find yourself, you know, in a situation whether it's been a rough, man, can't lie. Practice trading for the next week or so to get myself back. Yeah, no matter what it is, right? If you're in a situation where, you know, you're taking L's, you're not taking payouts, you're just trending in the wrong direction. I'm sorry, I keep pausing because I'm listening to some headlines. I'll pause it if it gets too distracting. Nothing wrong with slowing down. Nothing wrong with slowing down, guys, right? Here's the overarching theme. If you're doing well, if you're reading the market well, if the market's agreeing with you, if you're making money, that's the time to press it. That's the time to size up. That's the time to challenge yourself to try to scale. If you're in a situation where you're trading props and you're blowing through accounts, you're losing money, you're losing props, you're not, you know, passing things, you're not getting any payouts, right? You're just spending money. That would be an indication to slow down, right? That would be an indication to, you know, do it on one account, do it slowly on a practice account, right? Why in any business would you try to scale and put more money behind something that's not working, right? This is the same thing in trading. And like, you know, Nate said, got to humble yourself. Our ego gets in the way, right? Because, well, why would I slow down? Over here, I made, you know, 50 grand, right? 2 months ago. Why would I not want to do that again? Well, you know, some combination of you and the market are generating, you know, a negative expectancy. Pull back a little bit, right? Slow yourself down. A lot of trading, this is some sauce for today as we watch this market turn to the downside here, guys. A lot of trading is surviving. A lot of trading is surviving. Surviving the periods where your system, your strategy is giving you an unusual number of L's, what feels like an unnecessary number of L's. Survive a period where you're just not reading the market well. Maybe something in your outside life is impacting it. Any number of things. But surviving, you know, with your trading capital to put risk on when you are reading the market well, when the market is lining up to you and it's every dang day, like I've had up until this week, like I've had really the last few weeks where it's like you can't miss, right? But if you can't ever get to that spot if you burn through all of your capital before that comes for you, right? I see this with a lot of traders, with a lot of big prop traders, with a lot of different guys, and it all comes at different times for them. It's not always the same, right? There's some people right now, a lot of guys right now, I watched two guys that I really respect, big traders, talk about it, where they're like, it's absolute trash, I hate it, I'm sizing down, slowing down, I'm taking my foot off the gas. These are guys that are like decade in, you know, like big time. You know, so to have to do that at that level, to recognize, you know, that every week, every day, every month is not going to be the same, can save you, really can save you. So there's no harm in doing that. In fact, it's not, you know, that you should think about it as humbling yourself. You should just think about it as part of the process, right? There's going to be periods where you've got to, you know, go risk off, right? And then there's going to be periods to press it, to put the pedal to the metal and really start to size up. For you, individually, each individual, right? If you're a range trader, you're trading back and forth, two-way tape, when that comes, that's your time. Get on the charts. You're pressing it, right? You're putting big risk on. If you're trading for extensions, if you're constantly trading for breakouts and big directional movements, this week, was your time, right? To really try to capitalize. You should have started taking some wins and then, be able to press it forward. So it's really important to remember that. And if you reframe your expectation of, I show up to the market every day and I make $200, $200 a day in 10 minutes, the way that, a lot of the people online talk about it and joke about it. And I'm guilty of, joking about it and talking about it too. It's just not the way that this functions. It's not how this works, right? It makes absolutely no sense to think that way. So reframe to, can I try to generate an edge, a positive expectancy, over a large sample size? Can I try to exploit something that does repeat itself frequently enough for me to actually make money, especially with prop firms, where it does require a lot of trading to get to a payout by way of their rules, right? Not normal in live accounts. But in between that, can I survive? Can I survive the periods where my system is not generating me any money, it's generating losses, and or I am not executing well. I'm facing a lot of execution errors, right? For any number of reasons. Can you survive those periods in between? Most traders can't. And that's why most traders, end up, leaving, right? There's a lifespan. I'll finish this thought, which is sad, but it's really important to note. There's an expected lifespan for traders, right? It's very short, very short. Most are losing money and leaving in 3 months. Right? I think that's the number from, main live accounts. When guys start to day trade, they usually make it about, 90 days and they throw in the towel, right? Past that, it's not many that make it past a year or 2 years, right? And it's not, I don't think it's so much so that it's so hard or it's so frustrating. It is very hard, but it's so frustrating or they just don't want to do it. They run out of capital, right? They dig a hole for themselves. They have to try to dig themselves back out, and then eventually they go, I'm done. I'm just digging it deeper and deeper, and I'm done. And had they started to dig a hole, because they would have started to dig a hole, but then put the shovel down and go, you know what? I'm just gonna learn how to build a ladder, right? I'm gonna practice building a ladder and not dig anymore, right? Not have a potential for digging. Maybe they would have got to the point where they could get themselves out of the hole. So, really important to think about that. Can you survive long enough to build a skill set, without killing yourself by way of building a hole, digging a hole? What is the trade, buy or sell? Nothing. So far, I'm no trade. This has been a very muted open. We started to get some volatility to the downside here. I am watching NQ. Yeah, NQ turning down here. Off the open play would not have worked nicely today. Not a lot, not a ton here, but we are down into yesterday's candle. Taking a look at ES, same thing. YM kind of just choppy. I'm still waiting for a potential long on YM here. Just looking at a couple headlines here as they were coming in, as I'm yapping. Yeah, a couple of different notes. I got Squawk turned off so I could focus with you guys. But we might get something down here. I'm still going to look for this long. We're going down, down, down. Yeah, maybe. All right, 6 months of consistent wins, 2 months of losing. Been humbled. That's the conclusion I came to. Money out versus in was not equating. Yeah. Yep. Here's the honest truth. It wasn't my strategy. I was trading everything outside my edge for emotional reasons, trying to avoid life, BS, and it costed me. Nate, you're very self-aware. You're a very self-aware person. And honestly, I appreciate you sharing that and saying that. There's something positive to come out of that, right? You have edge, right? You have something that that was working, for a long period of time, right? That's good. And to note that, I stepped outside, right? I went out of pocket here, I got sideways, and I put myself in a situation where I just was not trading my strategy that had been working for outside life reasons. It's almost a silver lining to say, it's not that I just had something that really wasn't working well for me. It's, you know, I just didn't execute it well. I'm eyeballing along here, guys. Again, I'd love to be long this market. We're getting a little bit of a choppy pullback. This is an interesting spot, looking at visible range, volume profile. I'll come back to the chat. These are great questions, guys. Feel free, drop trading questions, conversation, comments. You know, let me know how you're making out with your trading. This is an interesting spot, right? We got an area of high volume here, area of high volume here. Just looking at, you know, some of this price action over the last couple of days. It's not that strong, and I think we're either going to do one of two things right here, but we are at a level. We've been sitting here for a minute. I think we're either going to come down right here to this next area of high volume, right into this zone, and this would be a stop out, or we're going to catch a reversal from right in here and come right back up towards VWAP and potentially higher. Now, this is not where I would really love to take it from, but having the opportunity to trade multiple prop accounts, this is probably a trade I would take twice. Because I really, you know, I really do want it down here, right? So, you know, the question, it begs the question, where does my invalidation point go? I'm obviously not taking it yet, right? You know, if I would want to be long in here, which I do, with a stop loss outside, you know, if I'm getting long in here, that's okay. You can position yourself long because I think we have a chance to bounce here, but I can't put a stop loss here or here. It's got to be like way outside. Like way outside, so it would generate a really wide stop loss trade, which I'm not super stoked on. So I think I'm going to wait. This is the first potential setup here on YM. I'm gonna wait for the move down and take it near yesterday's low if we get down here. But I'm mapping that out right now, guys. This would be the spot. You know, if you said you have to take a trade today, right here, right now. This is not terrible, right? You know, here's the opportunity for it. Right back up towards VWAP. I don't love this for an invalidation point. It's not really a good invalidation point. Taking a look at book map real quick here. Yeah, this is trade idea number one. We get a little bit more of a push down through some of this liquidity. I may look for it, guys. Let's see. Let us see. Oh, I see some comments from you guys. It's awesome. We're going up to have to 748, 721. Nice. Overconfident trading. Yep. So far for strategy. Yeah, man. Nate, I appreciate you sharing, man, as always. Slow it down, man. Just slow. You're doing the right. I don't have to tell you what you're doing the right thing. You know, when I found myself in those situations, slowing myself down, going back to basics, right? Humbling myself, building back confidence, you know, going back to doing what was paying you, really reviewing the times where, you know, you were executing well and looking at what was going on. Starting to catch a little bit of a bounce here on this one. I don't don't know, man. I think we might be just in for the choppy day, like the back and forth day here. Taking a look at NQ, ES, YM starting to bounce off of the the bottom of this this high volume node. I'm gonna look for it, guys, but I don't love this action today on YM. It's really not a lot, right? It's just really not enough here. You know, taking a look at what we've done so far on the daily chart can give you a little bit of inclination that, you know, we just really haven't moved that much. Again, you know, long setup right in here off this line that I threw on my chart. Off a high volume level, but I don't love taking stuff so tight in here, right? I would want to be long down here. I don't think that's breaking anything really to the downside. I think it'd be taking out some stops, taking out some liquidity. We're starting to form kind of a choppy back and forth rangy, you know, movement up here. If I'm going to play to that range, you know, what's the area towards the bottom of that range? Down here, I think right in here. And this is a larger level, if I remember. Yeah, key level. I think we could easily go and hang out down there today. But kind of looks like we want to find buyers. Let's see. Let's see. No trade yet. Not gonna do anything too crazy. We're in some prop accounts, so we can send it. We can send it if we want to. Again, I'm going to trade these aggressively by way of risk, but once I'm through evals by just stupid aggressive trading, right, blowing through them extremely quickly towards pass or fail, you know, minimum amount of days. Once I'm into the funded account, what I really like to do with evals is trade the way that I would usually trade, as far as, like, you know, actually waiting for a setup to come and then putting the trade on. I just do it with big risk, right? For the account, I do it with just really full size risk. And I do that across multiple accounts at multiple firms, right? And that's, you know, how I work towards faster and more frequent payouts. Got some messages coming in. What do we got? What do we got? What do we got? Let's see, chat. What do we think, man? What do we think? You guys, it sounds like a lot of you guys were getting short. Great conversation between Nate and Pam in here. Just a good reflection point. Tune up. Nate looking orb, low, retest short. Join me on this one. I don't want to be long in a long alone. Listen, Pam, that's the goal. You're taking the long. Do your thing. You've got it. You've got it locked in. I think that's a really important part of trading, right? Is finding your own trades. You can trade similarly to others. You can, you know, get a read of the market similar to what they're looking at. You know, but that building that discretion, that confidence in your system yourself is super important. Super important. For me, again, this isn't bad. I mapped this up 47,000 times. I even threw a line here so I could you know, watch this play out, but this isn't bad. Again, not bad. The reason that I didn't take this here is I felt that we could definitely come lower, as we're selling off pretty aggressively after a very muted open. I felt we could come lower down towards this area here, and and main reason number 2 is I don't love this risk structure. Now, I could run a really wide stop, right, to get my invalidation point like way outside of this next level, this high volume node, and still enter here. But where would I reasonably look to take profit? You know, for a mean reversion style trade is in here, right? Back to VWAP, back to current volume point of control, right? Yesterday value area high end of this volume node, right? Like at best. If I'm holding for this, it's not a mean reversion style trade. It's a complete reversal and then a bullish trend, you know, breakout trade, right? So if I'm gonna target here and I want to stop, you know, way out here, unless I'm really comfortable running a pretty negative risk to reward, I'd probably want it, you know, at very least down towards the top end of this zone here. That would allow me to get a stop in a place where I'm comfortable saying I'm dead wrong. It was a short today. We're selling off. We're breaking yesterday's low. We're breaking Tuesday's low. We're starting to really turn on this trend. Or we're just coming off the highs a bit. Maybe not turn on the trend here, but that's where I need it from. So, like I said, gun to my head, if I had to take a trade, this is a spot, right? This is an area of interest. Does it present a great risk structure based on the thesis, right? The area that I would be targeting? Not exactly. You could do, again, you could do a number of different things here, though, with discretion. You could run a nice negative risk to reward. Nothing inherently wrong with that. You could run it nice and tight and say, I want it to bounce back there. And that's how I'm going to get my, my risk to reward in a good spot. I think this is a good invalidation point. I think if we come lower, we're not bouncing here, right? And that's a trade idea in itself. I started to debate doing something like that where I would take the same trade twice. If it fails here, I'd look to take it down here, maybe on another account. But so far, just sitting patient. Overall, this is kind of choppy and indecisive, and the other part of it that I'm kind of anticipating is we just really slowly chop until the next headline. If nothing comes in, maybe we just have some normal back and forth price action today. But I think there's a good chance of another crazy headline that wicks us in one direction. I'd be happy to buy on a wick down, right? We can get set up here. Closer to what we'd be comfortable with. Full risk on this bad boy. Boom. But yeah, I'd want it down here. I'd really like it down here. So that's my reason for not doing anything just yet. Let's see how that works out for me. Let's see. Do you trade 50K accounts or larger? What's your usual size to consistently push past evals to paydays? What's your risk on evals and funded accounts, Zach? These are good questions, guys. Here's what my thoughts are. I've traded a lot of different account sizes. I've traded almost everything under the sun. I really do like the 50K accounts. I like the 50K accounts for two reasons. And again, specific to me and the way that I trade and, my capital allocation and what I'm doing, right? I really like to trade props more aggressively. And in order to do that, I like to trade multiple of them individually. I could do that with 150K accounts also, but I don't feel the need to, right? I don't feel the need to. What I find comparing them, and I've compared almost every firm and all their different account types in detail. What I find comparing them is the 50K account size is such an advantage when you look at profit target to drawdown ratio for passing, for building a buffer, for taking a payout. And the price difference to jump to the 150K and the larger drawdown, harder account that you have when it comes to passing and getting past a buffer. And sometimes, because it doesn't always change, but sometimes that bigger capacity for a larger payout is usually not worth it. It's just usually not worth it to me. I would prefer to just trade more, which is what I do, of the 50Ks, like more accounts across more firms, than trade, the 150Ks. I can get through the 50Ks very, very quickly. It, $2,000 in general for a max loss limit gives me enough size to put on something pretty decent. And for the most part, once you're into that account funded and you start to put up some profit, they turn into kind of the same account. I'm usually not limited by the amount of size that I could put on. I don't need to trade 15 minis. That's just not me. I'm not a super scalper. So for me, the 50Ks are really efficient. On the back end, which a little bit of insider information for you guys, there's no one best account, right? It comes down to the individual, and this is not going to be true for everybody. But the 50K account size, this should be obvious, is the most profitable for the trader, least profitable for the firm. Almost across the board, almost across, every different account type. There's an advantage there, right? And it should be clear as to why that is. Price of the account relative to drawdown and potential for opportunity. Again, for somebody that maybe is trading one account slower, or maybe somebody that's even past me with more capital and you know, even more advanced and comfortable, maybe it's all 150Ks, right? And they're like, yeah, I'm gonna pay more. It's a worse profit target to draw down. It's not, you know, it's not triple. It's triple the price, but it's not triple the payout. But I'm comfortable because it gives me a little bit more, and I want to, you know, be more efficient with that. But for me, I really do like the 50K accounts. I still bounce around sometimes, but I don't enjoy having to put up as much as required in the 150K accounts when it comes to the eval, and then when it comes to the buffer. And unless the payout opportunity is like so much more, it's oftentimes just not worth it. It's just really not worth it. Like I could look at some examples and talk about this if you guys want. Let me know if you want me to break this down deeper. And then as far as how much I'm risking on funded, you know, what size, again, it's not going to be helpful to try to mimic what anybody else does. It can be helpful to understand what they do and why. For me, in the, at least what I'm doing now, for me in the evals that I trade, extremely aggressive without, you know, without being any more descriptive than that. I am either going to pass them or fail them in the minimum amount of time, right? That's, you know, that's it. And then once I get to a funded account, I've done a number of different things in the past, but what's been working for me really well this year is to get through evals extremely quickly, and then into the funded account, I trade them extremely aggressively in the funded account, but not by way of, you know, usually scalping a million different, you know, trades all over the place or with all that different stuff. I'm waiting for a setup like I am right now in this funded Lucid 50K flex account to put on a larger trade, right? A trade that's going to be a big winner and take me to a payout or lose the account, right? Is that going to make sense for somebody with one account? No. Is it going to make sense with me who has multiple accounts across multiple different firms? Top One Futures, Top Step, Lucid, Take Profit Trader, and Alpha? Probably, right? Maybe. I don't copy trade them all together. It wouldn't make sense if I was copy trading them all together. You could go a completely different route. You could trade them maybe aggressively in evals or conservative evals, whatever. You get funded and you copy trade 40 accounts together and you trade them really conservatively. You wait for the setup that's coming, but instead of trading 2 minis, you're trading 1 micro, right? And that $50 win is going to put up, you know, $50 across all of them. And, you know, that's the way that you want to approach it. I find it to be just the most efficient way to try to work with prop firms, doing it this way. Once I put up a larger day, I flip the account. I choose accounts that are, I go for the minimum amount of money that needs to be made, right? And I do that with just, you know, little small scalp trades. Sometimes that goes really poorly. I've fumbled it on the last day right before a payout before. Have done it before. I did it with Top Step twice. But that's what seems to work really well to be really efficient going for larger payouts. So this year it's been pretty cool. I talked about this. Talked about getting really, really aggressive in sim accounts. Again, very different than live accounts. Very different than personal live accounts. Trading conservatively, you know, relatively conservatively, and just scaling, not risking ruin all over the place. But for me, it's worked pretty damn well. I've taken payouts, multiple payouts from all of the firms that I've traded with this year. I just started trading with Alpha, trying to figure out the best account that I really want to work with them. So I really just haven't done too much just yet. But yeah, it's been working really well for me. My goal now is to go for just max payout sizes and more frequency, right? Like obviously, right? More payouts. That's the goal. Sorry, more payouts faster. You know, if and when I get kicked live, because I am taking multiple payouts from the same accounts at some of these, you know, I'll go from there, right? I'll trade it. Maybe, you know, I'll decide. I'll decide what the parameters look like, and I'll decide what to do then. But that's kind of my goal for coming into this year. Aggressive with sim and scaling and continuing to improve in live accounts. My goal last year, after getting more consistent with sim accounts and slowing myself down, was to really slow down, get into a prop firm live account, slow down there, hold on to it, right? You know, prove some real consistency to myself. You know, try to start to scale from there, which I've done all of those things. And then, you know, coming into this part of the year after Q1, move on from that, right? You'll start to move on from that. So hopefully that helps. But the answer to how much risk per trade in an eval, you know, how much risk per trade in a funded, it comes down to you. What is your capital allocation? How long have you been trading? You know, what's your experience? Okay. What's your risk tolerance? Are you comfortable losing the account? Yes or no? How many accounts are you comfortable losing, you know, per week, per month, right? If the answer is no and one account, what's your risk per trade? What's your risk per day, right? What's your average win rate and average risk to reward? And then you create a position size based on your average stop loss. And that's how you structure your risk, right? That's how you would do it in a live account. What is your account size, right? Do you want to lose the account? No, of course not. You don't even want to get close. You want to give yourself, you know, 2-3 dozen losses before you got close to losing the account. You need to survive a lot of drawdown. What does your risk per trade have to be? How many trades do you want to give yourself per day? That's how you that's how you back into those limits. And then to go further than that, you could use an equity simulator, right? An equity curve simulator. You can plug in your win rate and risk to reward and get an understanding of what your equity curve is going to look like over the next 100 trades. You know, we're talking about kind of two different things: prop firm sim trading, and then real structuring of risk for, you know, one singular account that you're not, you know, intending to lose. So, you know, if there's questions on that, I'm happy to go further, but hopefully that starts to answer. Yeah, I'm looking at this. I'm still waiting, guys. I'm happy I haven't hopped in just yet. I don't know if we're gonna waterfall on these here. Somebody said waterfall in the chat. That's a good term. I don't know if we're gonna waterfall on these. I'm looking long, but I think I'm gonna have to make my bet and say that I'm not gonna front run this. You know, we're coming outside of this area. Can I get a wide stop? Because I'll run it with a really wide stop. How far would I be down here? Yeah, I think we're either bouncing and coming right back up, or we're going to extend to the downside. So this isn't terrible here. Da 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 da. Na 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 na. Whoa, not that. Just framing out along here, guys, as we're continuing lower. As far as copy trading goes, for the most part, I just trade stuff super aggressive individually. If I'm going to trade like this off of the open with more of these sim accounts, I'll probably copy trade them in batches. That'll probably be the play. Yeah, I think we're either going to rip lower right down here to the sub 48 500s, or we're going to find some buyers in here. I'm tempted on this one, guys. I think I'm going to run this. I think I'm going to run this bad boy. And this is probably going to be my only trade for the session right in here. I'm running this bad boy long. I'm running this bad boy long. I am long. Uh-oh, we got headlines, of course. Of course, right into nasty volatility as soon as I hit the buy button. We got headlines. Headlines on Trump getting off a call with the Lebanon president. Beautiful. Anyway, I'm long 2 from 48,000. 560. Stop outside of this next area of high volume. Looking for a pop back up towards. This can go like way outside just for now. Looking for a pop back up towards volume weighted average price. This area of high volume right in here. Again, this is on a Lucid 50K sim account. Full risk trade, right? Got to get some of these in if I'm going to make any progress towards listen to some headlines come in here. Progress towards larger payouts. But anyway, that's gonna be my trade. I don't know that I want it from down here. If we come all the way down here, here's the other part of this, guys. You know, other reasons for the trade now. 10:30 a.m. If we come all the way down here, I'm not gonna trade for this reversal. You know, if we come all the way down to this stop, I was just wrong, right? I'd be wrong on direction for a 4th day in a row. You know, I don't want that trade. That's not, you know, that's not my opportunity. If we come all the way outside of this, we break yesterday's low, break Tuesday's low. You know, I'm out. I'm out for the full L. So I'm going for the mean reversion trade in here. Still an hour into the open. This could get really dicey since we do have headlines printing right now. There's going to be comments, I'm sure. I'm going to try to leave that on without getting too distracted. But that's going to be my play on YM. That's going to be my play on YM. Arbitrary take profit. I'd be looking for something, yeah, something back into this level in here. Something back into this level here. That's the play for today, Chatty McChat. Let's see. We didn't get short. We didn't get short, guys. We got long today. Nobody can yell at me. We'll take the loss on the long if we have to. I tend to trail tight and get 10 to 40 points. But average candles on YM 5-minute can be 50 points, so that's a great move. But full can be 200. Cool. I first learned to scalp, so it's been really hard for me to hold for bigger moves. 15-minute ads again. Yeah, you guys shouldn't be getting. I can figure out how to turn it off eventually. Wait, let it close. 15-minute. No, I don't wait for candle closures really to do anything. That's not my. Just never found anything to you know, a need to do that. I don't wait for individual candlestick patterns. I don't wait for chart patterns. I wait for price action, and really, like, I love to look at order flow. I love to look at order flow, you know, around key levels to just watch, you know, price action and structure there. We got some more headlines printing. What is this? I think we had natural gas. Natural gas storage coming in. But yeah, what were we talking about? Waiting for a pullback to enter. Why I'm just melted. Cool. Whoa, what was that? Headlines. Some more headlines. Snagged orb, high, short. Collected half of Asia low, re-added. Nice. Nice. We had I want to come back to that. Well, actually, let me just mention it. Kevin, who was talking about scalping versus, you know, this isn't for everybody, right? This type of trading is not going to be for everybody. And scalping's not going to be for everybody, right? There's nothing wrong with, you know, however you want to trade. It just comes down to, you know, deciding what that is for you, right? What works best for you. You know, so if you're a scalper, you know, don't worry about holding for larger moves. You know, worry about structuring your risk, worry about your precision on your entry, you know, all of that fun stuff that's going to help create a better edge there. I think that's the way to go about it. If you're looking to try to, you know, develop into a trader that's going to hold their trades longer or widen out on, you know, stops and targets and higher time frame, you know, there's nothing wrong with that either, but there's nothing wrong with scalping. There's nothing wrong with going for quick, you know, in and out stuff. We got a bot in here. Yo, I gotta say, you guys have to be like, somebody has to be really, actually, I'm not gonna say anything negative. Let me just get out of here. Hold on one second. Let me get it out of here. I'm not even gonna feed into the bots. Not even gonna feed into it. But we had other good questions. Do you also share Twitch link on Discord? Because I keep seeing only YouTube. Yeah, guys, my Twitch link is everywhere. It's Real Deal Zach. You could just search it if you want, but it's on my main site, realdealfutures.com. It's on the bottom of everything. It should be in the live section as well. But we had something else. Somebody was asking something. I missed some stuff. How the prop firms make money in semi-funded. I don't understand what that question is. Nice, more headlines. Beautiful. Zach, can you look at ES CVD? Yeah, here we go over here, Purple Ninja. This is CVD on ES, negative 9,600. It is a pretty heavy CVD, definitely compared to what we've been seeing the last couple of days. Not, not surprised by that because we have sold off, right? We have sold off, but also taking a look at NQ, usually not as drastic, slightly negative, all right, slightly negative. These were really strong the last couple of days, especially NQ. Looking at cumulative volume delta. But we can leave ES up here. 7,040 on ES, looking like a problem. Looking like a real problem right here. Right below prior all-time high. Yeah, so we got buyers trying it. We got buyers trying it here. Now let's see if they could take it or if we're coming down here, right? If I was trading ES here, or even NQ looking stronger off these lows. Level to level, but NQ is just so over-exaggerated with everything that it does. Almost back up towards VWAP. We'll let it play. We'll let it play and see if we get paid. I wish I had the stomach to hold. I know a few people who held all day the last few days. Crazy wins, right? Most holders are going to be cash accounts because drawdowns on large moves kill props. For sure. For sure. Purple Ninja, thank you, no problem. Thanks a lot. Yeah, man. Listen, there's kind of two ways to approach the market, right? You're not going to be, this is really important. The guys that are cleaning up, and there's a few on socials, and I commend them. I really do. And I'm not knocking them when I say this. I'm not trying to tear them down because I would easily trade P&Ls with any one of those boys this week, right? So it's extremely impressive to see how long some of those guys can hold for. If they're doing it in prop accounts, they're holding just for the entire day, maybe. If they're doing it in cash accounts, maybe they are swinging overnight, right? Maybe they're trading options and, holding options overnight. If you're going to hold like that all day, right? When the market chops, you're going to have a lot of losses. You're going to have a lot of stop at break even, right? It's kind of this, what are you going to be? Are you going to be a one-to-one, negative risk to reward, modest risk to reward trader? Or are you going to be with a decent win rate, right? With a pretty high win rate? Or are you going to be a hold to the moon, right? Big risk to reward trader, with a lower win rate? Because that's just kind of the nature of that structure. So there's nothing wrong with either one, but remember that, ahead of those big gains and holding those big trades were a lot of trades that those guys had to hold that came back to do nothing, right? That just, they're buying for the breakout, and holding through highs. And, of course, what happens? Oftentimes it comes back down. So, you kind of got to make your bed a little bit. Maybe you do two different things. Like, I try to be a little bit of a hybrid in some of the stuff that I do. I find you're usually not going to be great at doing everything. But, if I'm going to trade NQ with the swing style that I wanted to start to stick to until I jacked it up this week, I'm going to hold. Even on YM here, I'm going to hold, but it's not a real high risk to reward setup, for the most part. It's still around that, mild risk to reward one-to-one. But, there's nothing wrong with either one. for the most part, in general, most traders, not all of them, most traders don't hold their winning trades long enough, right? We know that most traders are not making money. Most traders are not holding their winning trades long enough. There's a subset that's too greedy that never closes. But most of us are leaving money on the table, right? Including myself. So we could always try to strive to hold for a little bit longer. But, you know, if you're going to be, you know, if you're going to be a trader, right, that's long down here, and there was a few, right? And, you know, you're going to run stops like this, and you're going to hold all the way to the end of the day, right? There's going to be a lot of days. There's going to be plenty of days where this happens, right? And then this comes down to stop you at break even or to stop you out. You know, are you comfortable foregoing this type of profit in pursuit of this, you know, or not, right? There's probably a happy medium in here somewhere where it's not completely to one extreme or another. But I think it's really important to talk about because a lot of FOMO can happen, right? Well, if I just put the trade on and then I like even, you know, even me, for example, right? Where was the, where was, I go back to an example here, right? I bought the low of, I bought the low of NQ. I don't know if you guys, were following along for this, but this was my biggest day on props, and yeah, that was about the, I had $1,000 in there, so that probably would have been the, no, it would have been something like this, 600 ticks. Where's 1030? 10 something like that. Yep. There was more on the table. Despite this being a $12,000 day for me, I caught a small short after the open and then held for 15 hours on NQ and closed into NYSE Open. There was another almost double the amount of profit, right? You know, but if you're going to hold for this, how many days does this happen? And then NYSE opens up and we continue lower, right? And instead of starting a bullish trend, we just continue doing what we're doing. So, you know, there's a balance here, right? There's a balance here. We could almost always all hold for longer. But if you're going to hold indefinitely, right? If you're going to hold for forever, you're going to have a lot of come back on you. You're going to have a lot come back on you. And I'm in favor of doing that. I don't mind things coming back on me. But there's a limit, right? There's going to be an upper limit to that. So review your data. Take a look. You know, how much money are you leaving on the table when you're generally trading? You know, how many times are things moving into profit and then moving against you? You know, how much times are you closing out? You have a whole bunch more left on the table where you could take more, right? That's what it comes down to. A lot of money on. Still holding short. Practice count. Nice. We look at retest of NYVWAP for IB break on ES. Nice. Nice. Not catching, started to catch a little bit of the reaction in here. Obviously a key spot. We got buyers and sellers duking it out a little bit in here. Looking at the 1 minute. A lot of consolidation down here. Trying to decide if we want to move lower. I really would have liked to see an immediate crack to the upside here on YM. Taking a look at NASDAQ, we did catch a nice push right back up off of these lows all the way back to VWAP. What is this? 100 some odd points, almost 120 points. Let's see what Marcus got for me today. I got a feeling it's gonna be one of those weeks, man. I got a feeling it's gonna be one of those weeks. But I'm ready for it, man. I've been here before. It's not my first or second or third time or year coming off of an absolute heater and having to take some L's. Not my first rodeo, as the kids say. But let's see what we got, chat. Appreciate you guys hopping on. Y'all are awesome. Good questions today so far. Let's go through. Let's get a couple plugs in as we are getting ready to rip right back to VWAP and make $10,000. We have giveaways in Discord. This is still running. If you have not checked this out, We have 5 50K accounts up for grabs for anybody that uses code RDF at any of the prop firms you see at the bottom of the screen that are scrolling through. Take Top 1 Futures, Take Profit Trader, Lucid, and Alpha Futures. If you guys want to check out info on any one of those, please let me know. I'm happy to talk about the discounts, talk about the deals that we got. Code RDF is going to get you the best deal. If you're not in the free Discord, I don't know what the hell you're doing, man. I don't know what you're doing if you're not in the Discord. Whole bunch of sauce for free $99. I'm going to throw the join the team link down in here right now. Bang. We also got a ranking, leveling system. We got people that are ranking up. We got fun colors in there. We got a whole bunch revamped in Discord. I'm going to be doing more giveaways for people that are contributing, that are sharing the journey, sharing their trade ideas, sharing everything. More fun stuff coming there in Discord. Outside of that, if you want the best deals on any props, code RDF is going to be the one. Almost any props. Code RDF going to get it done for Top 1 Futures, Lucid, Take Profit Trader, and Alpha Futures. Trading with all those guys this year. They're solid. Really solid stuff out of all of them. As always, appreciate you guys hopping on. Been here for quite a while now. I had something else cool happen. What was I jacked up about yesterday? Wasn't jacked up about taking an L. Oh yeah, man. IG. If you're not following on Instagram, I'm over 30,000 followers now. You guys are absolutely insane, man. 16 something thousand here on YouTube. Over 30K on IG. Almost 3,000 in the Discord. Almost 3,000 in the Discord. I'm grateful, man. I'm very grateful for every last one of you guys that's part of the journey, that hops on, that watches what trading looks like for me. The good and the bad. It's been a lot of good. We finally got some L's this week, which I'm always happy to show, man. We take them on the chin, but I'm not going to shy away from what real trading looks like. You know, most will do that. I will not do that. I will try not to do that with you guys. We'll talk open and honestly about the fun stuff we got going on. Trump informed Lebanon's president that ceasefire would be, yeah, I did see that. Didn't like the market tanking. I did see that. Yep. I'm not going to show this just yet, but I will show the site that I am that I'm listening to news on. It is epic, dude. It's absolutely epic. The platform is so cool. I'm not going to pull it up right now, but obviously if you're trading right now, you're trading a headline market, right? You're trading Trump markets. It's absolutely insane. Maybe you pay attention to Financial Juice. Maybe you pay attention to forexfactory.com. News Squawk is the name of the site and the service. It is as real-time as real-time gets. It's up to the millisecond that they compete for time. They are actually faster than most of the major news services. It's a paid service. They are not cheap. Hopefully, I'll be partnering with them and maybe be able to offer you guys a little discount. I'm testing it right now. I'm working with it right now, but so far, absolutely awesome service, man. It's real-time. It's the weird, the iPhone headphones on instead of my normal stuff. Real-time news alerts, real-time headlines read out to you. You have a ton on one platform. You got the general headlines, Twitter headlines, Truth Social, economic calendar. They have news reports, a full curated research suite. You have everything for crypto, energies, metals, individual equities. You can create watch lists for individual equities. They have so much more advanced stuff, options trade data, block trade alerts, like so much you can get into. And outside of all that, one thing that I thought was just absolutely epic that you don't see from like any company, they reach out to you when you get an account to set up a call with you one-on-one to take you through, answer any questions, show you the platform. And then throughout the entire trading day, I don't know if it's 24 hours. I think it's for the main trading session. You have an analyst chat where if something happens like in the market real quick, or I see some crazy volatility, I can literally go, what was that? Was that a headline? Was there something that I missed? If you step away from your desk, you miss a couple of headlines, you don't understand something that they print, or you don't understand why the market went up or down when a headline was coming out. Here we go. Trump committed to reaching ceasefire according to Lebanon's presidency from their call. That's the headline that's coming across the wire. But yeah, really cool. Really cool. You know, whether or not it's helpful for you is up to you, right? But if you are paying attention to the headlines in this headline-driven market, a service like this, I think, is just absolutely insane. So it's been really cool. There's the last thing that I tested that I was like, wow, this is really cool, was Bookmap. Last thing I tested where I was like, man, I don't think I'm going to get rid of this, was Bookmap. And I got another one here, which I'm really, really stoked about. So I'll talk more about it. Again, had a cool conversation with them yesterday. And if we can get some discounts rolling for it, we will. May not mean anything, but will move the market. Yep, it will move the market. Pullback. I don't know what we're calling a pullback or a reversal or reversion. We're trying to find buyers here off these lows, right? Waiting to see. There's really nothing for me to do in this trade, right? Talked about the reasons for this trade. Talked about why we got long down here. There's really nothing for me to do, guys, besides hold it back up towards VWAP, back up towards volume point of control for a nice W. I'd be a little bit cautious holding into this level or back down for a stop. Arbitrary take profit, right? Like way outside. We don't, you know, not holding all the way for a break of highs here. I'm looking for a move back into this level. I do like to run and not a fixed take profit. That just tends to work best for me for a couple reasons. Every once in a while, you're on the right side of a really good Trump tweet and the thing rockets and you don't get taken out at your initial take profit. You get a beautiful runner. But more so just so I can close with discretion. I find that works best. ADO faded me, holding shorts on YM. Target yesterday's low, but moved up. Stopped to break even. Nice. Nice, nice. I don't think that's a bad spot to target. I don't think it's a bad spot to target. Yeah, guys, more headlines coming in here, so be careful. We're likely to see some volatility. This thing's probably going to move. We're getting more. So oftentimes what comes next is a true social post and then more Twitter posts, and then everything goes all over the place. So we'll have to see here. But yeah, I don't think it's a bad spot. I don't think it's a bad spot to target. If you were to trade an elite access account from Top 1 Futures, how would you go about it versus instant funded? Which is better for your use case? God's Battle, Dubsky, what's up, dude? For me personally, or for you, right? Like, for me, I don't know, you know, it's not going to help you. You know, what do I think they're good for? I think is probably the question, right? Like, what use case is each one good for? The elite access. More comments coming in. Careful here, guys. U.S. Energy Secretary Wright says the U.S. would be taking more measures to keep gasoline prices low. Yeah, we got comments coming from a handful of different spots. Not surprised. We got a little bit of volatility. Market's liking this so far. Let's see. Let's see if we can get some continuation out of this trade. So for the Top 1 Futures elite access accounts versus Top 1 Futures instant funded. The elite access, they're kind of opposites, right? The elite access account is going to be a really low cost barrier to entry. It's a $39 eval. It's going to have a high price on the activation fee and then tighter rules in funded. The instant funded is going to be a higher It's going to be a higher upfront cost, right? You're going to be right into a funded account. You're going to be ready for a pretty big payout in as little as 5 days. So I think the instant funded account is going to be better for the more advanced trader, the better capitalized trader, and also a trader who doesn't mind a consistency rule, a tight 20% consistency rule. The elite access account, right, or just in general cheaper evals, maybe going to be better for beginner traders, undercapitalized traders, traders that are not confident, right, in their approach, their strategy. Maybe they're just coming off a demo and they go, I'm been losing money anyway. I've been losing the accounts, so let me just slow myself down and trade a $39 account for a month rather than a $400, instant funded, because I'm not working myself towards payouts yet anyway. So that's kind of my thoughts there. For me personally, I think instant funded is sweet. I've traded them in the past quite a bit. I have the best results on evals, and this is just me, right? Other traders, guys that I work with, they love the instant fundeds. They send the instant fundeds. I prefer to trade the eval really aggressively. I hate trading evals, but I prefer to get through it really aggressively, right? And pay maybe to lose a couple evals into the funded, and then get into a funded account with a wider rule set. No, 20% consistency rule. And I tend to do better there with, maybe larger trades, higher risk, and then having to trade for, minimum trading days, things like that. That's kind of the just my preference, right? You can tell it by the accounts that I trade in general. I do like the instant funded accounts. I do. I'm definitely not not going to go back on that at all. So this is some headlines that are coming in, but for every trader it's going to be different. For every trader it's going to be different. For you, because I look up to you and I trade similar to you. So, but you're not me. That's what's important, right? You don't have my skill set. You don't have my discretion. You don't have my capital. So, you're not going to want to do what I do. You're going to need to do what, God's battle does. But I appreciate that as kind words. Zach, I put my trade in the Discord, but I thought I'd ask in here. I lost on the orb low on MNQ. But if I took it on MES, I would have won. Dang. How could I go about trading the correct index, if that makes sense? Tom, that's a tough one. That's frustrating. Really, really close trade setups across two U.S. indices. I had that yesterday, right? I had that yesterday. I got short on the break of pre-market high on NQ, right? We're buddies, Tom, and I'm gonna make you feel better. I got short on the break of pre-market high on NQ. Look at how that worked out. Instead of taking it on YM, which I'm primarily trading here into the open, and look how that would have worked out. So I think the answer is what I like to do, really what I like to do is hone in with one style, one approach, one focus on one instrument. If you're going to trade a different instrument, maybe you do it with a different approach, a different time of the day, a different, thesis of the trades that you're putting on. Maybe you use them for correlation or lack of correlation. But I just, in general, and this is just an observation, right? I try to watch what other people are doing that are doing well, whether it's in sports, in trading, in the profession. Guys that trade really, really well consistently, they're almost never bouncing around to 47 different instruments. They're usually trading one thing. Their NQ, like that's it. Or their YM, or their ES, or their gold, right? Maybe they're momentum traders. They trade a lot of volatility, so they do bounce around when we get a lot of momentum, a lot of movement. But for the most part, they're really experts on one thing. So I would try to ease that frustration by saying, you know what? I have the best results on XYZ. I'm going to trade XYZ really exclusively. And if you have a need or a desire to trade something different for a specific reason, maybe we are, I'm looking at headlines here as we're starting to turn down. Maybe we're looking to do that, at kind of a different time, right? Or with a different thesis. That's what I was starting to get back into doing on NQ, both scalping really aggressively on low time frames and then putting on bigger risk and holding it for, extensions for continuations. On YM, I'm best on this mean reversion style approach, specifically near the open, but also throughout the trading day. I've taken quite a few nice trades, after the open, middle of the day, for this mean reversion, level to level style of trading. So let me know if that's making sense. Thanks, Zach. Thanks, man, for sure. Zach, what is the best consistency rule according to you? No consistency rule is the best consistency rule. Like, what is the best consistency rule on an eval, on an instant funded account? Or, consistency rules means your single largest day of profit cannot be larger than whatever the consistency rule is, right? So the lower that number is, the less, the more room you have to work. Chill Bill, yep, for sure. Okay, man, I appreciate you. I'll go through my journal and see which I have more wins, etc., and judge with that. Thank you, for sure. Listen, I don't have it all figured out. Important to note this, guys. First off, not a financial advisor. No suggestions or recommendations. I'm an idiot yapping for entertainment purposes only, right? Trading sim accounts. I can only talk about what's worked for me, what I see work for others, right? My experience. I will say I gained a lot of consistency swing trading Forex, right? What I would consider swing trading Forex. Couple days, usually off the 1 hour, 4 hour. When I was doing that, I was trading a lot of pairs. And when I was first starting to share some of my trading, I was sharing a lot of this. I was trading a lot of different instruments. So it's contradicting what I'm saying. I will say, if you're trading high time frames, it gives you a lot more time to analyze and think and put trades on. And if your trades are going to take 3-4 days a week to play out, you probably have enough time to look at other instruments and get comfortable placing different trades across different instruments, right? Kind of like trading the stock market. Maybe you're going to look for, multiple different, equities or things to trade. If you're trading intraday, if you're day trading, right? If you're trading intraday, going for small scalp style movements or, what most would consider day trading, what we're doing right here, I think developing a really, really, for lack of a better term, intimate relationship with your weapon of choice, practicing that one kick with that one sword, is important and I think is an advantage. I think that if you said, Zach, who is going to be a better trader? The version of you at the end of the year that solely trades YM on the 15-minute chart off of the open, or the version of you that trades YM, ES, NQ, gold, oil, silver, lean hogs, copper, right? Who's going to be better at trading YM? Probably the dude that just trades YM. The disadvantage, because there's always a disadvantage of only trading one instrument, is you do pigeonhole yourself, right? If, markets are not moving at all on YM, maybe we just sit at VWAP and, we have a lot of movement across other US indices. Maybe had I been trading those others, I would have had opportunity to make money, right? So, it is a double-edged sword always. But I do think for intraday trading, for really low time frame, at most I see guys trading, around 2 to 3. That's pretty reasonable. But usually it's not everything under the sun. And most of the time it's one. They trade one instrument, right? And that's how it used to be, right? And that's how it is at risk desks, right? At professional desks. The guy that is at the gold desk trading gold, they just trade gold, right? The pits of Chicago when people were trading futures, even for U.S. indices, I don't think that they were trading different things throughout the trading day and on different days, right? They were focused on what was going on for what it was right then and there that they're trading. So I think the same can be true for developing. Maybe we're not going to be hearing what everybody else is doing. It's very different back then. But maybe you develop a really good feel for price action, market structure, volume, order flow for whatever it is, your special combination that you're trading, that you wouldn't if you were swapping around for forever. So, for me, right? If you watch me trade for long enough, I will move around. I will shift. I'll be dynamic. But I'm usually really focused on one. And then maybe I got something else that I'm like I got on the side, right? So YM and then NQ, right? And the mistake, one of the mistakes I made this week, because we're always making mistakes, right? And I'm always looking to improve. But one of the mistakes I made after looking at specifically yesterday, is I forcefully traded NQ over YM because of an account choice, because I wanted to put on more risk in my top one live account and, push it for big days or bury it, right? And that's not a smart thing to do if you have something that's working really well on one instrument and it's not market generated, the reason you're doing something different. What worked really well for me on NQ, started to work really well for me on NQ last year into this year. Scalping is always fun on NQ, momentum scalping. I struggle to really create a ton of consistency doing that. But what I have created some consistency doing is, the overnight swing trade. I've been doing that actually for years, not just last year. But these overnight swing trades, these pre-market trades through NYSE Open, longer holds like YM, but also a little bit different. more directional, looking for continuation, looking for movement with the trend. Had I been trading NQ properly the way that I would have wanted to, looking for a continuation of that movement to the upside. Still an aggressive entry, right? Still looking to fade the short-term trend, right? I'm always just going to be that guy that's, looking for that really, really aggressive, entry. I don't think I'm ever going to be the, as we're breaking out with a huge stop loss type of trader. But different, right? So maybe you find balance with that. But there's only a couple of guys that I've worked with, only a very small handful that trade, let's say, ES, NQ, YM, and RTY. I'm thinking of one person that I know that does that consistently. Pushing the upside here. Let's go back through. You got in much lower than I did. I suffered from impatience. It's all good, Pam. I think you had a pretty decent entry. On another day, maybe I'm in here. But I did wait patiently on this one. We're not out of the woods yet. We're not out of the woods yet. Gold is a crazy pair, not gonna lie. Yeah, gold is pretty wild. Can we only overnight trade in live accounts on props? You cannot hold through session changeover. So, Johnny, it's a really good question. When I talk about overnight swing trading, doing that with prop firms is after session changeover, so maybe 7, 8 p.m. Eastern, putting a trade on that you hold all the way through the next day, right? Which is what I've done on NQ to generate a really nice win a few weeks back, right? And what I've done on NQ to really put some profit in some accounts. You cannot hold through session changeover with any futures prop firm that I know. In live accounts, right? In live broker accounts, here we go, guys. Got more headlines coming in. Israel defense officials say ceasefire could be announced on Thursday night. We're at crossroads. Nothing is final, but it could happen today. Axios reporting potential more for ceasefire. Looks like the market likes that so far. That's hitting the wire. Interesting. Yeah. Got a nice movement here, guys. I'm hanging on to this one. Again, I'm not looking for a break of highs, a complete reversal, but just a little bit more up towards this mean. I'm gonna try not to clip this one too early. So that's the thought. Can you only overnight trade in live accounts on props? In personal cash accounts, not live prop accounts, because you still can't hold through session changeover with live prop accounts. With personal cash accounts, you can hold through session changeover. You could hold through the change of the day. The margin requirement to do so is high, right? Is very high, much higher than the day trading margin, which is why, because there's a lot of risk involved, right? There's opportunity for huge movements, for gaps, right? And it's why prop firms don't allow it. But that's kind of the thought there. Futures are not that efficient, in my humble opinion, for swing trading if you were going to hold through session changeover, just based on the margin requirements. It's probably short time frame options, or maybe just different markets that are going to be better to try to do that with, but it can easily be done, and I've done it before myself. So I've also been taken out of a trade because I didn't have enough margin. I didn't realize that they have margin requirements increasing around high impact news events and things like that. Let's see. Watch this thing continue to push to the upside. Maybe back towards VWAP. That's what I'm looking at on this one. But we had a couple of questions here. I'm gonna try to read the chat while I'm watching this market continue to move. How can I calculate my daily win rate to make sure I stay within consistency? I meant daily win amount. Alan, good question. Great question. Here's how the consistency rules with prop firms work. First off, I have a video on this if you want to watch that. What is the total amount of profit? Right? The rule says no single day of profit can be larger than the total amount, than this percent consistency, right? So no single day of profit can be 20% of the total profit that you need when you go to request a payout or when you go to pass the account, right? So what's the total amount that you need to pass an account? A lot of times with a prop firm 50K, it's $3,000, and you have a 50% consistency rule. That's a very easy math equation for everybody here to start with. How much can you put up before you violate the consistency rule if you want to pass at $3,000, which you do? $1,500, right? Half of $3,000, 50%. If you have a 20% consistency rule, maybe somebody could do the math for me. If you have a 20% consistency rule with a $3,000 profit target in an instant funded account before you can request a payout, what's the most amount of money you could put up on any one single day so you don't, go over the consistency rule? What is that number? Okay, man, I appreciate it. I'll go with, we'll talk about that. $600. Perfect. There you go. Correct. So it's simple. It's a simple math equation, guys. Simple math equation with consistency rules, right? Maybe it's 40%. A lot of these evals now in the funded accounts have a 40% consistency rule. If you want to take a payout at whatever amount, how much can you put up before you violate the consistency rule? That's the question. Then you keep yourself, below that range. I am smart. Hey, man, what do you think for take profit needs to be in this one? So for me, I'm looking at VWAP, guys. I'm looking at VWAP. So got long, 48,560. This is showing me over 100 points of profit. I am in 2 minis here for a potential take profit. I think a crack right into this area, probably not too bad. I'm really cautious holding this thing all the way back down. I'd like to hold longer. I'd really like to make this a positive risk to reward. I got a wide stop. This is not, there we go. This is not, this is just not moving as aggressively back up as the way that I'd like. It's not bad. It's definitely not bad. But I'd like not to hold for this to come all the way back down. At this point, I would not want this to come back down and stop me at break even. But I'm going to look for a close. Look for a close through VWAP here, guys. See if we can't get it. 1,300 bucks on the board. I'm going to try not to be a DICK for a TICK, as that saying goes. I would like to see a nice crack through for a close on this. Getting ready to manually close out. Coming into some liquidity there, up above. Can we hit VWAP? Can you give me VWAP, YM? Yeah, this is the mean reversion play, guys. So holding all the way through this is not a terrible idea, but my thesis was this, right? My thesis was this reversion to the mean. Can we get a little bit more out of it? No, we don't want to get too much more out of this. I'm taking it right here, guys. I'm getting out. I think we got plenty of opportunity for 1,280 bucks on a 50K funded. I think we got plenty of opportunity to just completely reverse this, come all the way through the highs and run, but that's not the thesis. I'm not super stoked by the amount of risk I had to put on for that one. Feels good to snap a losing 3 days. I wouldn't call 3 losing days on a live session much of a losing streak, but it feels good to take a W after a couple losses. Not a big one. Decent size relative to the account that I'm putting on. Not a decent size, really, relative to the risk. But I don't want to hold through more of these headlines. I really don't. I got a good feeling that it will be similar to a lot of my trades where I'm leaving money on the table. But as we start to stall out up here and chill, right below VWAP, coming into this area from pre-market, right? Here's our consolidation from pre-market, the low end of this high volume node. I'm going to take it off and call it a W. That's going to be enough for me. Can we come through VWAP, right? Like I've held for a lot of times, successfully and unsuccessfully. Can we come through VWAP really aggressively through this volume point of control and out the other side of this range? Absolutely, right? But unless I'm going to hold for that every dang day, unless I'm going to hold for that every dang day, I really don't want to be holding for it today, right? It's the mean reversion style play, right? It's from the extreme of this zone back in. So again, I'm not super stoked by the amount of risk I had on for the amount of profit that I had on the trade. But a W is a W, man. I'm gonna take it today. I've obviously not been executing exceptionally well, having taken 3 back-to-back losses in the live stream with you guys. I'm happy to take a W. Happy to take a W today. And put an account. I think that account's gonna be over 2K of profit now. You know, put a couple more $200 days in it. You know, withdraw $1,500, maybe $2,000 from it. You know, maybe a max payout from it. So I'm happy to take a W on this one. I'm happy to take a W on this one. Let me just get this marked up. I do like to go back real quick so I can save it. What was my actual entry point on this one? W's on the stream today, man. No more L's, man. No more L's. Entry was 48,560. Nice. We'll go back through. Awesome. Just wanted to make sure I had the entry right on that. I know where take profit and stop was. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Holding strong all the way up to VWAP on this one. Let's see. Let's see if it's going to get filed under another one of those trades where, you know, holding for a longer period of time would have helped me, right? I had a painful one. Where's YM? Monday. Yeah, I had a painful one in here. Right? This was an example of, you know, where I was holding really for a move through VWAP, and I didn't get it. The trade setup looked like this. This was my L on the live stream from Monday. Trade setup looked like this, right? Just roughly somewhere in here. It showed me $750, $800 worth of profit. Didn't take it off. Was going for a hold really through VWAP all the way down towards this level here. And back to the stop loss, man. So, you know, it's a balance, right? We talk about it. It's a balance. You're never going to catch the massive move if you're closing your trades out, right? You're never going to catch the, you know, the huge movement to the upside if you close out, right, at VWAP. But thesis, you know, movement that I'm trying to exploit successfully here today on YM. So, mission accomplished. W. W on the stream. Let's see. I perform terribly when I scalp. I don't. What are you guys talking about? Hang on one second. You guys got a ton of questions, man. We got a W. Let me throw this back up. No, it didn't. It didn't pop back up. There we go. We got a W coming into VWAP here. Something along these lines. Let's see how far this bad boy runs. Through the highs, man. This might be the banger. I'll be right back, guys. We got plenty of good questions. I want to respond to these. I got some more fun stuff coming up. Hang tight, guys. Hang tight. Put this back down. Chatty chat. How we doing, guys? I'd be lying if I'd say if I didn't say it felt good to take a W after taking a couple L's. But I will tell you, I pulled up ready today to take another L, right? You got to put your trades on. You're going to take multiple L's. You're going to have those weeks where it feels like just back to back to back. Nothing you do works. But it does feel good to, to catch a W, man. And, unfortunately, like another stark reminder for me that I was just on NQ for the mean reversion trade on the wrong damn instrument yesterday. Again. But let's see, you guys got a bunch of comments. I got tilted today by one candle. Not good. Unlucky Mike, I just took a loss. Zach, you trade YM really well. Jake, thank you, man. I've been trading YM for a while. Honestly, here's what I really think is a big piece of this, guys. That's what I really think is a big piece. I have a really high win rate. I've been overperforming on YM. Taking some losses, which is reasonable, brings me back down. I think the way that I view the market and the movement on YM align very well, right? I think my entry style, the way that I hold my trades, the wide stop, wider take profit, the mean reversion type of play, the fading, the initial, I think that lines up with YM's movement well. So, part of just building a lot of discretion and staring at something for so damn long, because I did trade US 30 before I traded anything else as the 4X CFD, as a CFD, not 4X CFD. That's part of it, the experience, but also finding something that works really well for you, right? Finding something that you just seem to have a good read of. So, but thank you. New around here. Is there any reason why your stop loss is so far from your entry? Didn't get percent there, sorry. I run a real wide stop loss. For the most part, I run a 200-point stop loss in YM. Like I talked about on this one, I'm not super stoked by the risk structure, by the closeout. But for the most part, I like to hold my trades. I like to enter really aggressively as the market's moving down, right? Hence this one. I don't know if we're going to stop on a dime here or here, right? But for the most part, I am a wide stop loss style trader. Closer to a 1-to-1 as far as a take profit and a stop loss go. That's just what seems to work best for me. But good question. Morning, gang. I said don't activate the funded today. I had a green day, red day, back-to-back red days. Mike! Sorry to hear it, man. Sorry to hear it, Mike. Part of the journey, man, but you know what you need to do. You know what you need to do, Mike. Love this pullback. Gonna stay until the break of structure with trailing stop loss. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Like the mindset, W trade for sure. Are you planning on shorting it now? No, I'm not. Well done. I perform terribly when I scalp. I don't know why. I keep trying. It doesn't work. Maybe skill issue. 15-minute, been bread and butter. Been trying 1 minute every time, below accounts, etc. I'm coming back to that, God's battle. Beautiful trade, Zach. Thank you. After some ugly ones the last couple days. Big surprise. We took a long and we won today. That's another stark reminder. Yes, I'm surprised nobody commented that today. Been shorting this bullish market every damn day. Anyway, look, NQ is buy hard. Yes. Yeah, it looked like it turned off. Awesome, Zach. Thanks. That's what I thought. Want to double check. Zach, quick question. If you set your take profit to $600 on 20% consistency rule, if slippage occurs and it closes above target, that's bad. Set your take profit below, right? Don't, if you're going to set a personal daily profit target, set it below. If you get, if you take more on, then yeah, that's going to push your consistency rule out. Here's a thought, guys. Here's my thoughts on, somebody said, I perform terribly when I scalp, better, when I swing trade. Here's my general thoughts on this stuff, guys, right? The lower time frames, while they present more opportunity just objectively, they are, in my humble opinion, harder to trade. Not because price action and market structure is harder or less reliable or, different, right? Just inherently because it's faster, right? The trades that you're taking on the 1 minute chart, especially on NQ, are faster, right? You have much less time to think, to react, to structure risk, and also, so harder to trade in that respect. Also harder on your psychology, harder on your mindset. Because you're trying to trade at a higher frequency, you're burning through mental capital, right? Very quickly. You're going to be in a situation where you're taking multiple winning trades and losing trades in each trading session, where maybe if you zoom out, not only do you have more time to think, more time to process what's going on, more patience, right? You can take an entry and then you have plenty of time to figure out what you're going to do with, stop loss and take profit on maybe on the 15 minute or even higher. You also are not opening yourself up to so much tilt because you're not taking a million different trades, right? I'll tell you something that was just for me, and I only thought about this recently. I never knew what tilt was. I didn't know what tilt was until I came over to the futures market and I started trading really low time frames intraday. I thought I knew what it really was, but I really didn't know what it was. I didn't know until I started trading, NASDAQ on the 1 minute chart, 47 trades a day. You don't really have that in swing trading. You're not going to have an opportunity to put on that many trades. You're going to put it on and then you're not going to win or lose while you're sitting there, so you don't go on tilt, right? So I would consider, if you're struggling on low time frames, maybe you zoom out, especially if you're struggling and you're a beginner, right? And I'll finish this thought, is there anything wrong with scalping on the low time frames? No, there's plenty of dudes that do it extremely successfully. Plenty, right? But, take those things that I just said into consideration. You have less time to think. You have much less time to process market-generated information and to structure risk and position size and to measure out volatility. It's faster. It's way faster. So in that regard, I do believe it's more difficult. And from a psychology mindset perspective, if you are having to withstand multiple winning and losing trades, like more than a couple, throughout a scalping session, that puts you in a very, very different situation than somebody that's going to trade 2 times, for the day on their account. So something really important to think about. Good conversation, good questions. These are great questions, man. Throw them at me. Come on, we got good stuff. It's still early. I'm happy to answer a couple questions with you guys here. Got cooked by NQ. Yeah. Been happening to me this week. Happened to me twice to get sim. Thanks, man, for sure. We were talking about this. Are you planning on shorting YM? No. 30 MD. Did you ask this one twice? No. So I don't. The thesis of my trades here on YM, and for the most part, is as soon as I exit a trade, I don't short it just in general. And I also do not trade YM for a continuation from the middle of the range. That's not the style. So no, I'm not looking to short YM here. Wanting to close out a winning trade because you feel it's a good spot to take profit, that it might reverse, that it might turn down, and putting new risk on with a new trade thesis and a new invalidation point in a new area that you believe price can reach are two different things. So flat and long or short are all three of them are different. We don't have to hit the reverse button. You don't have to go from long to short. It's an advantage. So, but fine question. Nothing wrong with any of these. You're all good, man. So hard to write trade so many times, for sure. Finally got out at 48.24. Nice. Yeah, nice. Yeah, here's one to file that this was a $2,000 W instead of a 1280, right? More on the table. More on the table. Coming back down towards VWAP, but more on the table. What is the best setting one can do to stay on consistency rules? If you are trading on a prop firm or a platform that allows you to set a personal daily profit target, you can do that. If you're not, do the math and set it yourself and set your take profit there on any trade that you put on. It's as simple as that. Great day, YM. Just should have put more risk on the table for sure. I'm happy I traded that with 2 minis instead of 1. Mike, had the green day twice. Couldn't let it be. I feel you, man. I feel you. I get that, Mike. I was lock it down today for sure. Dwayne, what's up, man? NASDAQ is low-key a bay. Hello. I love its clear movement. That's awesome. Yeah, again, everybody's going to have so many different opinions, right? NQ for up until this week, in my opinion, and I think most opinions, has been an absolute nightmare to work with. It has been the crazy psychopath X. Like, this thing over here, I've never seen so many red P&Ls from everybody. This was nasty work. Absolute nasty work, right? And you could see such a drastic difference, right? Like, look at what we were doing here, right? And what would have worked here. And look at what we're doing here, right? And what would have worked here. It's drastically different. But yeah, whatever you find, man. Whatever you find. Whatever you decide is solid. I mean, this was a nice pullback. Really nice pullback to get long on. It finally gave you something to get long on. You know, this is a, you know, off of VWAP blast off. Yeah, off of VWAP blast off, no pullback. This was an above VWAP blast off. Where was 930? Yep, didn't even touch a VWAP. So this gave you a nice pullback today for a long, if that's your setup, right? Hello. Yeah, we're talking. I'm reading the chat. Hello. Got so lucky at my YM long. I got in well above where he did. Wasn't skill for me today. It was luck. I got you, Pam. Yeah. Listen. You know, remember, like, every day is gonna be different. Every day is gonna be different, right? And here's the important thing. On another day, right? On another day, you know, you're entering here, and I'm waiting, and we never get down here, right? You know, maybe on another day, I'm waiting for this down here, and it never comes, right? So, you know, there's a level of discretion of this. There's a level of timing to this. Try to have some consistency. You know, for me, getting involved up here is not a great opportunity, right? And even right down here below, you know, this pre-market low, because it doesn't present a lot of opportunity to structure, you know, a winning trade to the upside, and it doesn't present a lot of opportunity to get a stop loss where I feel it needs to be. Oof. Hold on, guys. Nasty volatility. Let's see what this is. Let's see if we hear a headline on this. God's battle, awesome, dude. Appreciate you. Luck, this word I've been feeling lately. Yeah, we don't want to rely on luck. Wow, we got nasty volatility here, guys. 11:30 time frame. That was before the 11:30 time frame. I'd be cautious here. I'm not hearing a headline. Let's hear if we get it. Still not getting it. It's about a minute. Let's hear. That looks like it. Palestine officials are reportedly expecting a major breakthrough in talks between Iran and the U.S.'s former nuclear program. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will speak with Lebanese president. Continues on. I don't know if that was the headline though. Anyway, hate seeing this trade. Taking it, the market goes for you 20 minutes. NQ is on roids for sure. I'll read whatever pops up next, but nasty volatility and the market's got extremely dark. Now, I'm going to listen to this, guys. I'm sorry. Is it possible of slippage occurs and you close above your profit target and you close above and you violate the rule? Yes. So Sunny Hussein, let's be clear. We have someone in chat asking essentially, you know, what happens if you have slippage, right? Whatever the dollar amount is, slippage is part of trading. You have to account for slippage, right? So if your max loss limit is $2,000 and you tried to close out at $1,990 and you got slipped by a couple points, which is normal in the market, you know, you lost the account. Same thing to the upside. If you set exactly a $600 profit target and you get pushed to the upside, you get positive slippage, you violated the rule, right? So that's the answer. Slippage is part of trading, guys. Poor fills, fees, commissions, all of that factors in. So when you're doing the math, you have to be conservative with it, right? So if you're going to set a personal daily profit target, like we're talking about, if your goal, right, is to, not go over $1,000, you probably want to put 950, right, or 975. If you're trying to pass an account, you probably want to go past that amount by a little bit, right? If you're going to set a profit target with a bunch of minis on, trying to pass 50K accounts, it's usually $1,525, right? 1 or 2 ticks extra. That's kind of the key. Hopefully that answers the question. Short on YM now. Nice. Hard for me to draw a line between discretion and good strategy when I just want to see a trade to take. Yes. Pam, you're always coming with the sauce. You're always coming with the sauce. It is a balance. It is absolutely a balance between trying to get a good trade on, trying to get a trade on in general, and just wanting to take a trade and waiting patiently for a good trade to set up. I'd say, Pam, if you're trading YM in a similar fashion here, this mean reversion style, which I think you are, and I see some other questions I'm gonna come through to answer them. Jake, Chip Bell, Johnny, A. Morris, we'll talk about this. If you're struggling with that, what can help is as price action market structure is forming, draw some lines on your chart, right? Draw some lines on your chart. Draw some levels and say, okay, here's our pre-market setup. I have to wait for at least this area to be hit. At very least, what's the highest area, for a short, or the lowest area for a long, the highest area for a long, the lowest area for a short based on this structure that I'm going to wait for. And maybe you adjust those a little bit as price action market structure starts to print, but that can try to help keep you in line a little bit. And that's discretionary in itself, but that might be able to help. But a lot of this is just going to be experience. It's just going to be time. You can't shortcut that piece of it. And then the other side of it is the market is very random, and you're going to have to deal with that randomness intraday. We're not always going to catch a nice entry like this right here. I'm going to miss it sometimes because I'm waiting down here, and I will be in your situation where I'm entering up here, right, on a break of pre-market low because I'm looking aggressively long, and I'm kind of discrediting what we got going on over here. So, there's nothing wrong with that as well. That's part of it, right? We're not going to have perfect execution with discretion. We're just not. It's unreasonable to think, that we will. So, that part is important to remember. But you can use some bars, some lines, some zones to say, if I'm getting in ahead of these, I did something wrong. And maybe that generates a no trade. That's okay. But if we don't at least get up here or get down here, and I'm looking for a long or a short, whatever way, I did something wrong. So that might help. Zach, what prop firm would you recommend? Lucid, Top Step, Take Profit. Top one. Somebody says top one. Here's my favorite prop firms right now. My favorite prop firms, which I'm trading with all of them. Top one, Lucid, Take Profit Trader, Alpha. I also trade with Top Step, but I'm not partnered and affiliated with Top Step. Which one is the best out of all of those? I don't think there is one best. I think it depends. And that's why I've expanded my partnership to all of those ones that I just mentioned, except for Top Step. I think they all have different advantages and disadvantages. I think some offer things that the other ones don't offer. So it depends on, again, you, and this is hard, your skill level, your capital allocation, the style, so many different factors. I have plenty of videos on my YouTube, Jake, if you want to watch, where I compare prop firm accounts. But a recent one that didn't get a ton of views, which it happens, but it's a valuable one in my opinion. I talk about all the different things that go into picking the best prop firm for you personally. So I would watch that one. More volatility here. Uh-oh, guys. True Social post. Here we go. Just had excellent conversation with the highly respected Ceasefire. Careful here, guys. Here's the I'm gonna give you guys the squawk just because I have it, right? And this is Truth Social, so you guys had it. Had an excellent conversation with the highly respected President Joseph of Lebanon, Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel. Two leaders have agreed that in order to achieve peace between their countries, they'll formally begin a 10-day ceasefire, 5 p.m. on EST on Tuesday. So ceasefire between Lebanon and Israel is what's being announced here after that conversation with those three. Two countries the first time in 34 years here in Washington. Anything else super important besides... No, just him, Pat. Dude, the comments are so funny. It has been my honor to solve 9 wars across the world. This will be my 10th. So let's get it done. President Donald J. Trump. But that's the headline. That's the headline. It actually printed relatively quickly as that was coming out. But that would be somewhat bullish. We got an initial pop on that, and then and a reaction here. So let's see what this looks like. All right, we had great questions though. I'm gonna keep answering questions as long as you guys want to ask them. I'll hang out with you for a little while longer. Really, really good stuff, guys. Yeah, so prop firm accounts. Prop firm accounts. We were talking about different ones. If you want the best deal at any one of those, code RDF. Boom, we throw it in chat for those of you guys that are watching with no headphones on. Code RDF, gonna get it done, guys. But good question, so we're gonna keep talking about this. Is that something that your real-time alerts someone still had info prior? Or so it appears. Isn't that something with your real-time alerts someone still had the info prior? Oh, yeah. So, Johnny, here's an interesting thing, right? And I asked this question. You get reactions, right? Like, you get reactions from algos that are going to be exceptionally fast, right? That are, machine learning, using keywords, and, as soon as they see a true social post with the lowest latency feed that they have, it starts to move. But there's also people that have the information right before we have the information, right? So, that's part of it. Zach, how much do you think should be risking in an eval? 1%? Amorphs fit. It depends. Totally depends. What is your goals, right? Do we want to go over how to decide what to do with evals and prop firm accounts in general? Let me know. We could talk about that. Like, you guys want to talk about, how I think you should be structuring risk, trading prop accounts and live accounts and what goes into that. If you want me to talk about that for 10 minutes, I can. But it's not a quick answer, and I repeat it a lot. But if you guys want to talk about that, I'm happy to talk about it. Great idea. Wait for initial balance for me. Yeah. VWAP is a thing of beauty, irrespective of the outcome. Dynamic key level for me, especially if I'm aligned with bias. One gem I took from you, Zach, is VWAP. Thanks. Yeah, VWAP is savage, dude. Volume weighted average price. Phew. There's a lot of dudes that just trade with VWAP. There's a lot of dudes in my circle, obviously, right? There's a whole bunch of VWAP traders, right? ASFX is primarily VWAP guys. It's on a lot of people's charts, almost everybody's, for a reason, right? VWAP, anchored VWAP. It's solid, man. It's solid. Let's see. Your words on futures prop firms. Your word on futures prop firm spreads. Any recommendation on which prop firm is better in front of spreads? Sunny Hussein. Spreads are almost non-existent in futures. It sounds like you're coming from Forex CFDs, where this is really important. Spreads are almost non-existent. They exist, but they're almost non-existent. It's negligible, right? 1 to 2 ticks. Essentially, it's a bid and an ask. So across futures prop firms, also not going to matter. You're going to be trading on centralized exchanges. So you're not going to have, you shouldn't have, any difference in spread, in the spread itself, because you're trading on a centralized exchange. Spreads will widen out and tighten up across different times of the day, different periods of volatility, right? But as far as different brokers, right, that you would trade a live account with, the data is all the same, right? The data should all be the same, as long as it's real-time data coming from CME or CBOT or whatever it is. But in general, it's really nice if you're coming over from Forex and CFDs. It's an advantage here. Spreads are almost non-existent. Bang 550 on YM shorts. Should I feel bummed that I didn't take the long with you? No. Why would you feel bummed, dude? You made $550 clicking some buttons chilling out, probably on a phone or a laptop, bro. Got to reframe that expectations, man. People are sweating outside and they haven't made $550 right now. Do you think the guy that says he has $65 and won the same day account passed? That's a good question. I don't know. I'll follow up on this in person in May for sure. How to determine how far back to pull the rubber band if there are multiple levels to reverse from. A logic for picking which level to wait for. It's a very good question, Pam. It's a very good question, and there's going to be an answer that you don't love here, which is it's discretion. There's a part of it that is discretion. Discretion where you're going to be right or you're going to be wrong. If it was as clear cut, as an objective way to identify exactly what volume, area or market generated level that I was waiting for, I could code it, but I can talk in detail with tons of examples, and we'll go through this. For those of you guys that don't know, I will be at an in-person seminar in May, next month. Yeah, ASFX Bootcamp in Tampa. I'm super stoked on that. So, we'll be trading live and talking about it there. I'll watch this after. Thank you, Zach. Awesome. Horseshit ceasefire. You didn't like... Yeah, for sure. Listen, I will agree. Listen, politics aside, right? I always try to go politics aside as far as saying something inherently negative or just around politics. We have to talk politics here. Literal Truth Social is one of like the 5 widgets on my news screen because it moves the market. It's market discussion that in general, presidents in midterm elections years, right, and leading into elections will do everything that they can to prop the market up, right? They like to be able to say, look at how well the economy is doing, look at how well the stock markets are doing, everybody's making money, yay! So do I think that Trump is going to do and say everything that he possibly can to inflate the market? Yes, I do. Which seems to be the case. Market starts to sell off. It's a great time to buy, and then it's, a bunch of tariff because we, changes pace on tariffs. So that was the most insane one. But anyway, that's funny. I think the way you trade, you can absolutely crush it in CFD prop firms. Yeah, I traded CFD prop firms before I came over to futures, and I mostly got scammed. I was not a big fan of what was happening towards the end of my time a couple years ago. Trading with Forex and CFD prop firms as a US-based trader. CFDs are not legal here either, so it's kind of a gray area. I do like futures much better. If I was going to swing trade, I would do it in my own personal live accounts, and I've continued to explore different avenues to do that with options. Thanks so much for taking all the questions to the man. For sure. for sure. W News Squawk. Yeah, News Squawk is sick. I'll be talking more about that. Yo, I'm late. When you hopping off? What's up? Not too much longer. I'm hanging out, answering some questions with you guys. Took a W today. I don't have another setup. I'm waiting to see if another one presents itself. Again, I have more accounts to trade. This style does not present me a ton of opportunities. I'm usually putting on a fuller risk trade, in whatever account that I'm trading, and I'll take a couple trades a day. As far as real trades, for lack of a better term, You know, if we got a scalp on NQ on some sim accounts to get some volume in, I will do that. But let's just call that discretionary price action volume scalping. I don't know that it's very valuable to watch. I think it's fun and entertaining. It's not repeatable or replicable by any sense of the term by anybody else. And even if it was, it's highly discretionary. So, you know, unless you're inside my dumb mind, you're not even gonna be close. So, but that's a piece. Zach, how do we use anchored VWAP? That's a good question. You guys are asking good ones today, man. Listen, you keep asking them, I'll hang out. I'll hang out for a little bit. If you got questions, trading questions, throw them in the chat. If you have technical questions, like how do you use anchored VWAP? First off, what is an anchored VWAP? Anchored VWAP is an anchored VWAP. It is an anchored volume weighted average price where you set the anchor point based on time. So on TradingView, you would come over to the left-hand side here under volume based, you would find anchored VWAP. You click on that and you are now ready to anchor it to time. It does not matter if you go above or below price, but if you come over here, maybe you want to anchor to midnight, right? Midnight open anchored VWAP, right? You can see down here on the bottom of my TradingView chart, we're at 0.0000. If I anchored a VWAP there, it would give me the volume weighted average price from that point in time, right? If you anchor to the end of the session, right, where the other one is, it would line up exactly, or almost exactly, with the other one. You see how it overlays almost exactly? If I put it in the right spot, it'll probably be exact. There you go, it overlays exactly, right? So anchored VWAP is, now I can't get rid of it. There we go, now I can find it. Anchored VWAP is clicking a button and dragging it to where you want it. A lot of people will go for NYSE session open anchored VWAP. I used to trade with that on ES quite a bit. I do think that can be valuable. Again, it's the volume weighted average price specific to just the New York trading session, which can be interesting to watch. Some people go off of key lows, right? It can be a way to continue to buy into strength. Maybe you anchor it off of a high and you will look to buy on a break above because it's showing that sellers are in control from an important key high in the trading day. Sometimes people will anchor them to key news candles, right? Key pivot points in the market. It can give you an indication of who is in control, buyers or sellers. If you want to learn a ton about anchored VWAPs and VWAPs in general, come out to Tampa because we have the godfather of anchored VWAP, the guy who wrote the damn book, Brian Shannon. But you could also read his book, Brian Shannon, Alpha Trends, anchored VWAP. Do you think it's wise to hold a trade when there's a volume spike like in the previous candles? Because I closed the trade, I was in when I saw the spike. Curtis Jackson, it's a good question. It depends. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer there, right? Whatever you do, I would try to do that consistently. If you're going to close out as soon as volume starts jumping all over the place because we have Trump headlines which are continuing to roll in, then you should do that every time. And you should do that because you find that more often than not, your trade turns around, it reverses, it stops you out, it does something you don't like, right? It's creating a worse outcome than if you held. That's the answer there. What does your data say? Right? How do you decide on the points to anchor VWAP as an intraday trader? I named some there. I would listen to Brian Shannon on that. He's probably gonna be better suited to talk about it than me. Yes, coming to CFDs and Forex, I worked with those prop firms where I had seen wide spreads, slippage specifically from purple trading broker used by prop firms. Yeah. Yep. So we were on point with that. I would use New York high. Okay, so we're talking about anchored VWAP. Yep. New York open high, high and low of the session, anchored VWAP. Yep. Great spots. No spreads exist. They are very bad at some props, especially if not top ones. Okay, so we were talking about spreads in the futures prop firm market. I have not seen that personally, but what I will say I've seen is issues with prop firm platforms creating poor fills, right? Latency and stuff like that. Some props add to exchange spreads on points. Okay. Please repeat when you are going to be in Tampa because I'm only an hour away in the California. Top Top Dog Scar. I'll show you what we got going on in Tampa. It's sold out. It's been sold out for a while, so I don't want to advertise something that you can't come to, but I will answer the question. Maybe you can come for one of like the nights out or something and come and say what's up. I will be in Tampa. This is an old picture. Hold on one second. This is when there was... I'm not going to display it because it says the wrong thing. Hold on. I'll get yelled at by you guys. Let's see if I can find the graphic with everybody. With the goons that are going to be out in Tampa. There it is. There we go. Bunch of goons that are going to be out in Tampa for the 2-day Futures Boot Camp with ASFX. Again, guys, this is sold out. No, it's been sold out for mad long. It's a paid event. I was a guest speaker last year. I'm excited to be a guest speaker this year. It's May 14th and 15th in Tampa. Maybe if you didn't get a ticket, you can like come and hang out if you find out where we're doing like a casino night or something. But I don't want to make any promises because, you know, we're catering to the people that, you know, found it and bought a ticket and are there hanging out. So, but yeah, if you missed it this year, I think in-person events are awesome. I think it's really epic. And again, the person that's missing from this one is Brian Shannon, the godfather of Anchored VWAP. I couldn't find the one with him on it, but yeah, Brian Shannon's gonna be out there too, which is awesome. And a couple other traders. There's like 3 more on here that are gonna be out there, so it's gonna be pretty sweet. But yeah, if you missed that one, I'm sure he'll be doing something next year, maybe a different spot, different location. I think the in-person stuff is awesome. Let's keep going though. Some props added to exchange. Yeah. Please, we talked about that. Are we getting a giveaway account today? Chill Bell. I don't know. If you're here for the giveaway account, I say you're free to go. You can go. Does Forex have prop firms? Does Forex have prop firms or at least reputable ones? In my humble, biased opinion, based on what I have experienced, I would not touch Forex and CFD prop firms with a 10-foot pole at all, Johnny. That's just my personal biased opinion. I've talked a lot about that in the past. I'll save the story there. May the person who deserves it win it, for sure. I will say that we have, just in case you're here for giveaways, we got giveaways rolling in Discord. We have paid giveaways, we've got free giveaways, we got everything in between. Make sure you hop in Discord, then gets pinned to the chat. You guys are hitting me with the questions, though. We'll hang out into lunchtime, do some questions, man. Q&A. I keep drinking water, though. You guys are, like, talking for almost 3 hours here. Nice to catch a W, too, I gotta say. Nice to catch a W today. Oh, man. Could you explain the difference between the buy and sell volumes on the graphs and how does it apply across the different time frames? Could you explain the difference between the buy and sell volumes on the graphs? So, A Morse Fit, I'm going to ask you to clarify that question because I don't really understand what you're asking. Are you asking what these volume profiles are on my chart and what they mean and how I use them? Because if that's the question, I can go into it. I don't know what the buy and sell volume is across different time frames. Can't wait. For sure. Yeah, Tampa's going to be awesome. I'm stoked. I love the in-person stuff. I'm going to an in-person event this weekend. I think I'm going to be at an in-person trading event this weekend. I'm going to be in Tampa in May. And then I think in June, I'm going to be at an event in London. We sit behind a screen all day, guys, right? I do think it's hard to find reputable stuff, you know, stuff that's worth spending your, you know, hard-earned money on and your time to go out. But trading is one of those things that's very isolating, very, very isolating. So the very few opportunities that you might find to get out and around other traders, I think is awesome. You can also make sure you're in the Discord, man. Anytime we're doing something for free, we did one a couple weeks back in Fort Lauderdale, ahead of doing a whole bunch of podcasts and then going to Colombia. A whole bunch of guys, a whole bunch of traders were out here for just to hang out at the, you know, at the bar and say what's up to everybody. You know, free event. Obviously yapping about trading, but it was awesome. Most of the guys on there were out there, which was cool. Just been here a few months, and I think I know almost all those goons now. Yeah. It's not that big of, I mean, it's a big space. It's not that big of a space. Awesome. Florida, gonna be awesome for sure. 1 hour fair value gap flips. I am cooked. Sorry to hear that. Zach, have you ever tried deep charts? I have not. I've heard about that from prop firms. I haven't used it. I am really interested to hear and see more from TradeC. I think that's probably going to be the next one that I eventually try, but I just don't feel the need to be the guinea pig, right? I don't feel the need to be the first person on the new platform. You know, like, I'll let everybody else figure it out. Do people really come on the giveaways for streams? Yeah. Do people come on the streams for giveaways? For sure. Exactly that. Yeah, so just real quick, guys, before we get ready to... Actually, hold on one second. Let me just see if I have a... I think I have a whole YouTube video on this. Hang on, guys. Hang on a second, guys, because I want to see if I have one. If not, I'm going to have to make one. Yes, I do. I got a couple of them. All right. Amor's Fit. Hop in Discord. I will share multiple videos that break down not only my settings, what they are, how to set them up my chart, but some examples, backtesting on TradingView that show, you know, how you might want to use them. What do we say? Zach, I'm testing out TradeC. Am I funded? In my opinion, I like it more than TradingView. Yeah. Do you mind? Yeah. No, awesome. What's up, brother? Welcome to the show. Enzo, what's up? I tried TradeC. It's not ready yet. Yeah. I love how it adjusts stop limits when I add and scale out. For sure. Yeah. Again, there's a call for a Project X replacement, right? A web-based, fast, TradingView integrated trading, you know, platform specific to props, you know, scalping, you know, a lot of those features, maybe risk tools, dragging out stops and targets, you know, calculating all of this stuff. I don't, a TradeC might be it, but it's, you know, it's still early, and I've heard too much of what, you know, somebody commented here where they had a lot of problems, right? Mike was talking about it. There you go. I'm in chat with TradeC now. They're terrible. Okay. I had consistent rejections trying to exit trades. TradeC says it's Lucid. Lucid says it's the opposite. Yeah. So we talked about this week, right? We are in the infancy, I think, of a new platform, right? Maybe there's going to be others. Maybe that's the one. It's early on. So, guys, we're right here at 12 o'clock. I am 3 hours on stream with you. We took the W today. Fun stream. If you guys are looking for a giveaway, hop in Discord. We got giveaways rolling in Discord. I have different ones across socials. Follow on IG, follow on X. Hop in Discord, hop on the live streams here. We do them random days, random times, all over the place. But you're always going to be updated and informed in Discord. W here, as you can see, this trade's still going. It's going to be another one filed under never closed. Diamond hands it to the moon. But happy to snap a couple of losses here with a $1,280, around $1,280 it was showing. I got to go into TradingView and take a look. Trade Evade, I should say. But happy to snag a little win. Man. Appreciate you guys being on here. Excuse me. Appreciate you guys being on here. I will see you tomorrow. Finish out the week strong. 9:15 a.m. Eastern on YouTube, Kick and X. 100% free. I appreciate everybody that followed on IG and got me over 30,000 followers. I appreciate everybody that's in Discord. Everybody that's here on YouTube. Everybody that's here on Kick and X. You guys are awesome. Thank you. I'd be a crazy person yapping to myself in my room without you guys here. So this is fun. Quick disclaimer. I'm not a financial advisor. I do not provide financial advice. Nothing I say or do is a suggestion or recommendation to anything at all. Make sure you always do your own research, make your own trading decisions. Read CFTC Rule 4.41 on simulated trading, which is what this is, even in funded prop firm accounts, and the affiliate and partner disclaimer. This is I stand to make money from links and codes in my content. Like Top 1 Futures, code RDF, all the other firms we talked about, and others. Can't be unbiased if I stand to make money, which I do. More for me to be transparent about that, for you to do your own research and make your own dang decisions. Chat, you guys are awesome. Appreciate you. Talk to you soon. See you tomorrow.